What do the next 4 years look like for PlayStation and the PlayStation 5 as we're basically sort of entering the second half of the gen? Well, I've got a video coming later today, and in that video, I'm going to walk through what has been said from a lot of the insiders. What can we sort of deduce about games and cadence and timing? So I kind of talk about that as well, and what I feel PlayStation is signaling, even some, from their own earnings calls and slides. This has got mixed feelings, obviously, from people. Once you watch it, you're probably going to know what I mean about how it's probably a good thing, but also pretty disappointing with the nature of what people were hoping for from first-party studios in particular. But I did talk about in that video, which if you want the full list and the full breakdown, there's their secret weapon, which is the topic of this live show. I kind of want to talk about this with you guys, and I'm going to show you some games later in the live stream that I don't think people are paying enough attention to, and they're in the China Hero project. And this ultimately, I'm going to put my cards on the table right now, I think is their secret weapon. I think PlayStation has made smart moves with their studios and with choices and with timing, but I think one of the biggest things they're doing, and probably one of the most important things they're doing for the platform's future, is investing in the Chinese market. Now, a lot of these games you may not have seen, so they're going to be contained in that video later. So the video later is about the next 4 years, what you can expect from cadence, what you can expect from timing. I don't want to talk about that right now. I don't want to kind of cannibalize that video, but I do want to talk about their secret weapon. So if you're watching this later, you'll check for timestamps if you want to kind of jump to those games and those trailers, because I do think some of these are off your radar. I mean, they weren't on my radar. I knew they existed. I knew what the China Hero project was, and we all know Phantom Blade Zero and Lost Soul aside. I've got those on the thumbnail. But I've got a handful that we haven't really talked about or looked at all that much, except for maybe I think I put them on like a document when we were like talking about all the publishing efforts of PlayStation, excuse me, compared to the publishing efforts of Xbox. So, but what we like to do is we like to just kind of talk and vibe for the first hour or so of the show. We sort of have replaced that morning coffee segment we were doing. I was doing a morning segment thing called Morning Coffee with members. Most of my members are gifted. So if you are paying for a membership, you're not getting less content. You're still getting Green Room at the end of the day. But if you're on a gifted membership, you also are not getting less content. We just sort of sit, we just vibe, we talk. We also do Q&A later in the show now instead of just all throughout. So you want to be here early, get your questions submitted. They can be about kind of anything going on in gaming news, and then sort of in that back half of the show, we do Q&A, so it's a reason for you to be here early. It's a reason to stick around and be a part of the discussion. So in many of these cases, I think when we talk about games, I can get, and I think we all can get, sort of like apprehensively worried, or we don't want to get hyped up. I'm not necessarily trying to hype anybody up today. I think these are good investments, and these games show a lot of promise. They obviously could come out and not really do anything, or not really be all that great. I mean, one of the China Hero projects, AI Limit, it came out and it did fine, but I do think there are some bigger titles coming. So look for those timestamps below. If you want to be here for these discussions, make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you hit the bell button. If I'm ever not on your homepage, make sure and check your sub feed. We've had some strange things happen on the channel recently. We're not really sure what's going on. We don't know if like YouTube's purging. We don't know if like maybe it's just the summer. But if I'm ever not on that homepage, check that subscriber feed. We are very, very faithful here. Monday through Friday, talk show, uploads, members content. And we really do depend on members. So I know that's weird on YouTube. That's not a YouTube thing. That's more of like a Twitch thing. But like YouTube has that membership thing there so that we can make extra content. So if you consider doing that for $6 a month, pick Member Plus, you'll get in to the behind the scenes content. So we'll go through the games later. Now I just kind of want to talk to you guys about what do you think about the prospect of what I'm essentially arguing and saying, that I think one of the glaring, omissions from the discussion lately, and I've obviously referenced it, is the Chinese market in particular. We saw what happened with Black Myth Wukong and how insanely successful that was. And it was like almost like the gaming world woke up and they're like, oh wow, yeah, China's actually a huge market for games. I mean, people were pointing out that a significant percentage of Black Myth Wukong sales were in China. I don't think in a way to say that like it wasn't as successful, but to say, oh my gosh, like what a ripe sort of market for games. And there is more and more games I think that are going to be coming out within Chinese folklore and within sort of the history of some of their literature. You're going to see that, I think, in some of the games I'm going to talk about later. So if you're here right now in the live environment, make sure and hit the like button. That does help the video. And we're only 5 minutes in, so the faster we get that like count up, the better. And also, we did check out Eric Solm, The Stolen Dream yesterday. So if you were looking for gameplay of that, I played for about an hour and a half, did a bit of a breakdown as I was playing and a bit of a discussion. Yes, the Donkey Kong reviews are in. They're like universally glowing, which I kind of expected that for a big mainline Nintendo game. It's getting like a 90 on Metacritic, I think a 91 on OpenCritic. We don't really get great results when we try to do anything with Nintendo unless it's like a live event. So I didn't really see a reason to do a review roundup of Donkey Kong. We'd be like, well, everybody loves it. I will be playing Donkey Kong tomorrow, though, on the release date. It does release on Thursday the 17th, so that'll be our second segment tomorrow if you are interested in seeing that game. And then if we hit the goal this week with memberships and subs over there on Purple, we will be streaming that on Friday night with my wife. We have fun with co-op games, and that game is co-op. Maybe a lot of you might not have known that. So keep smashing like, come on in, chime in, get your questions submitted early so you can be some of the first in line. Noberto with the double dip, 10 months over here on Purple. Thank you so much. Getting closer to a full year on Purple. Stoked about gaming right now. I mean, 2025 is absolutely cooking, and Han shot first, and so did you. Thank you so much for doing that, Noberto. Let's reset the battle count here. I think we need an incentive for the battle. We got to stoke these fires and get things cooking again like we were a couple of weeks ago. Tebow comes in with a Prime sub as well and renews. Thank you so much for 5 months. Welcome back in. And then PC Gaming Channel is renewing a 12-month gifted membership. So thank you so much for doing that. Wired Rope has given YouTube a thumbs down, but he's still renewing for 29 months. So that's going to take the count to 313. Every 50 now, I give 5. We have so many people doing renewals and so many people doing primes. It was becoming very counterproductive for me to gift 5 members every 25. Like, it was actually very expensive, and it was working against me, and I love paying it forward, and I love this community, but I have to be wise with how I'm, spending large sums of money every day and week to kind of like foster something here. So we had to move that to 5 every 50, but we're still doing it. We're still doing the incentives. We're still doing Friday nights. So make sure you're here for all that. PlayStation's been lazy. What alternate universe is this? Somebody's saying they've been lazy? Who's saying that? PlayStation has been lazy and hasn't done much of anything. I don't know if Yotei is it. Meanwhile, Donkey Kong has entered Game of the Year noms. Can you explain how you feel like they've been lazy? Let's not act like their first party has made more than 2 a year this gen. So you think that's lazy? That's your argument? Do you have anything more to say? I mean, a cadence of 2 games a year, you can't necessarily attribute that to laziness. What if it's because they want the games to be good when they come out, so they give their developers plenty of time? That's bait. No, he's been here a long time. I don't think that's a very compelling argument that they've been lazy. I think we throw that word around, ironically, kind of lazily. Dodevas comes in for 43 months, and he does his ritual. The first 5 bomb of the day. Thank you so much, Dodevas. And that's going to take us to 319. Thank you so much, Dodevas. And that 6 is going to take it to 7-2. Purple, you're now behind. Try to tie it up here. I wonder if, like, every hour we should see who's in the lead, and, like, maybe that's when we can gift a little bit more than I'm going to with the new cadence, and, like, say, hey, you guys won the hour. I don't know. That might be a way of rewarding whoever's in the lead, because Twitch, you are in the lead sometimes. Again, they canceled live service games. That means work was being done, but they changed course. That's the opposite of lazy. I mean, the live service games that they canceled, I don't necessarily think would have padded the calendar and made people, like, come out of their skin. I mean, we know Last of Us Factions was actually canceled by Naughty Dog, not PlayStation, and then PlayStation canceled Bend, their live game and Bluepoint's live game. I don't think those games were even close to coming out. So I don't think those games would have changed the last 5 years. Like, the rhythm of games coming out wouldn't have been any different. Those games weren't out yet. So you could say they lost time. I would agree with that. I think they made an enormous mistake having single-player studios try to do live service. But I don't think, like, the last 5 years would have been so much more padded with games if they wouldn't have done that. The other thing I'm going to push back on, saying that PlayStation's been lazy, they have invested quite a bit in relationships and publishing relationships and exclusives that have brought games to the PlayStation audience that wouldn't have been there otherwise. So giving their studios time to make really, really high-quality games while also giving you things like Stellar Blade or Helldivers 2 or exclusive deals like Rise of the Ronin or Grand Blue Fantasy Relink or the Final Fantasy games. Those are things they invested money in so that you could have more games for your platform. They invested money, time, just relationship building with studios and publishers. I would much rather them do that than just, well, we got more games on a schedule. Like, that to me is not... That is not how we should measure whether or not a company is being lazy. To me, a sign of laziness is when you shove things out before they're ready just because you want to hit the deadline. And then you get games that are lower quality. Like what they did with Jedi Survivor is like the perfect example of why I'm okay with first-party studios taking their time. It's like, I didn't need... If I would have played Yotei last year, let's just say that. If Ghost of Yotei would have come out last year and added to the first-party PlayStation Studios rhythm, let's just say they did that, but the game wasn't ready, and the game had problems, that would not be a sign of, like, the antithesis of laziness. That would be laziness. It's like, you didn't take your time. You rushed this out just so you could claim you shipped a game. PS5 generation has plenty... have we even had a PS game this year, or is Yotei it? No, Death Stranding 2 doesn't count. It'll be on Xbox and PC Switch probably. I've been the biggest PlayStation fan for 30 years. Okay, so I need you to explain to me why you don't count Death Stranding 2. They published it. They've invested in a relationship with Kojima to the degree that Guerrilla helped them with the Decima engine. Like... I don't understand. So this feels forced. You're basically saying, I'm not going to count one of the biggest celebrated games of the year. It's a Game of the Year frontrunner, but I'm not going to count that. Yeah, XDev also helped develop it. I'm not going to count that because later it's going to come to PC and Xbox? That doesn't make any sense to me. It's a game right now that adds value to your PS5. Does that value retroactively go away because another platform gets it? I genuinely don't understand that perspective. You got to help me. Guys, I also need help with 100 likes. Let's get 100 likes really, really fast. We really need that, man. We have been in a weird spot on YouTube, and the likes make a huge, huge difference. He doesn't play on PS5. He's just console warring. As a gamer, I'm tired of it has to be first-party argument. Sony has delivered games this gen. I couldn't care less about what studio it was from. That's what I keep going back to, Mr. Anderson, is both... Every platform spends money to bring games to you. They spend money to bring games to you. Okay, their investments, their choices lead to games coming to you. Okay? If you're going to get out a spreadsheet and be like, but I'm not going to count Stellar Blade, and I'm not going to count Death Stranding 2, and I'm not going to count Rise of the Ronin or Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, I'm not going to count those games. This just feels like self-inflicted disappointment. You're like punching yourself in the stomach and complaining that your stomach is sore. It's like, well, stop doing that. Why not just play the games, enjoy them, and celebrate them and be like, man, if PlayStation hadn't published these games or invested in these relationships, I wouldn't have these games on my platform right now. Who knows where they would be? Who knows if they would even exist? Because I'm pretty sure what happened with Stellar Blade was they needed help. They needed funding. People, Lono, if people actually look at the yearly releases across all platforms for the past 10 years, you would realize 1, at best 3 games a year are a staple. That's another thing that I think that expectation is just so out of whack. I'm going to touch on that in the video later today about the next 4 years for PlayStation. Today's more about what I think is their secret weapon, which is the China Hero project. When we're about an hour into the stream, I'm going to show you some games that might not even be on your radar anymore, or maybe never were. Dodgers fans don't care that the Dodgers spend a blank ton of money to build champions. All they care about is the team is bringing in players to win. Now apply this to games. Yeah, apply it to games. PlayStation is going out into the market, spending money to bring games to the platform, and you're concerned about whether or not they own the studio. I always go back to this. Sentiment. Would Stellar Blade have been more enjoyable if PlayStation bought the studio? A lot of games historically have come to the PlayStation platform and then they buy the studio after the fact. Did that game suddenly become better, more enjoyable? Did it suddenly make your PlayStation better? I hate Xbox myself again. I'm not worried about Xbox. We're talking about PlayStation. PlayStation's been number one for me since PlayStation 1, and I'm not going to live in a fantasy world and act like they're just pumping out hits like they used to. They're just not. There are great games you can play on PlayStation, but they are not Sony's mostly. So, okay, you believe there was an era of time where they pumped out games faster. Have you ever considered the fact that there was a time when games could come out at a quicker cadence, at a quicker schedule, and we're not in that situation anymore? You're attributing something to PlayStation that I believe is just indicative of how the market functions right now. Game development has mushroomed. It's more complex. It takes longer. We want the games to do all the cool things and all the cool graphics. Most of the games you played on PS1, 2, and 3 were not owned by Sony, said Eugene. Yeah, you also might have some rose-colored glasses here. I don't know. Double dip. Thank you, Minch Tree. I don't know if there was this time where, like, first party was just coming out every other month. I also think you're going back to a time where games could come out quicker. We're not in that time anymore. We're not. You have to accept the fact that Yotei took longer to make than some of your favorite PS2 games. Ghost of Yotei took longer to make than some of your favorite PS2 games. Intergalactic or when Wolverine comes out, those games, I guarantee you, they took longer to build than some of your favorite PS2 games. What I think happens in these discussions is you have not recalibrated your expectations to how things are now. You haven't. You need to recalibrate your expectations. I'm not telling you how to feel. You can feel however you want. But your self-inflicted frustration at being like, well, they're lazy, it's not as good as it once was, games used to come out so much more often. I don't know what you're talking about. My backlog is busting at the seams. It is busting at the seams, dude. I don't have time for all these games. I've rolled credits on more games in 2025 than I have probably in the history of being a gamer, because my 5 years of Destiny streaming, I didn't roll credits on a lot of games. I didn't have time to. I was focused on Destiny. The 5 years that I've been building on YouTube, we spent probably 2 or 3 of those years in a bit of a panic mode trying to build this talk show thing that we're doing. This year, 2025, I dug in and I accepted the criticism that I wasn't playing and finishing a lot of games, and I was like, that's true. We were in crisis mode and trying to rebuild my entire career from the rubble of a cancellation. And so this year I said, okay, we're stable. My schedule's more set. My day is more predictable. I'm going to start finishing games. And I still can't get to every game in my backlog. So I don't know where you are as a gamer if in 2025 you're like, PlayStation's lazy, this gen sucks, it's been so disappointing, where are the games? I'm like, brother, I can't get out of the pile of backlog. I can't do it. I'm never going to get ahead. I do this for a living. So yesterday, I played Wu Chang Fallen Feathers. I'm playing it for a review copy, so I can't say anything about the game. I played for 4.5 hours. My wife understood why. You know, I was in a situation where I had to keep going. I was like, I just have to keep going. And so they went and had dinner with some friends, and I had a late dinner, okay? Because I do this for a living, I'm afforded those opportunities to, like, make extra time for gaming. If I had, like, a traditional job, Brother, I don't even think I would remotely have finished the number of games I've finished this year. So I don't know how anybody is in a state of disappointment or unhappiness with gaming or PlayStation or anything right now. It's like, what on earth? What games are you playing that have you feeling this way? Like Donkey Kong Bonanza just got like a 90 on Metacritic and a 91 on OpenCritic. We're just swimming in great games, highly reviewed games. Yo, Joker Quinn, thank you for the single gifted. Bumping the line to 320. We are exactly 30 members away from the next milestone. That's actually an easy steal for the purple boys, because you guys can do an exact amount if you want to steal it. I have to play story games after the wife heads to bed. I have to lose sleep to enjoy those games. I was up until 1 a.m. playing Death Stranding 1. Did you see Ko's tweet? What with respect to what, Rope? Please name the PlayStation first-party bangers you were playing all the time on the first 3 PlayStations, says Eugene. And a 20 bomb comes in from MASH. Thank you so much, MASH. We need some mashes of the play. We need PlayStation to act like MASH, I guess. You know, they need to be putting out 20 games a year, 20 games a quarter. Do you think Lost Soul Aside will cancel one more time? I don't have any reason to speculate on its delay or its timeliness. They haven't done much. They haven't done or said much other than delay it. Yo, it's good, Light Leap. Do it, lady. That's right. Oh, and Kardoc Ren steals it with a 10 bomb on purple. Oh, man. MASH sets it up, and purple slams it down. We are now a 50 bomb away from the next milestone. I don't know if that was intentional or not, Kardoc Ren, but Kardoc Ren makes it real easy for purple to snag the 5 every 50 now. We've had to slow down a little bit how often I'm gifting because we have so many renewals and so many primes. It was becoming counterproductive for me to do that. Jack games, Ratchet and Clank games, God of War games, Uncharted, Sly Cooper, to name a few, on my PS1, PS3. Okay, so the question then, Chris, would be, back then, what was the cadence? How often were those games coming out? How often? During PS1, PS2, and PS3, I'm genuinely asking. I'm not saying that they weren't coming out at quicker succession. And a 20 bomb comes in from Pathalon Phoenix after a single comes in from Joker Quinn. That's a big one. We got Pathalon and MASH duking it out. I'm going to pause the thing that you guys don't like. It's, you know what I'm talking about. I'm going to press that pause button over here on YouTube. Give me some likes and some love. That helps out. Oh, yeah. Carnage is going to put down Death Stranding because he just does not like using a controller. I think that's totally fine. That is not a game to play if in an uncomfortable way. That would ruin the experience. If I tried to play the game in like a way that felt awkward or cumbersome or uncomfortable, it would not be enjoyable. Hang on, I gotta add Joker Quinn's would be here, and then the 40. It's now 50 to 12. There we go in the member battle. It's 50 to 12. You're still in here, Purple. You're still doing it. God of War 1 to 3 was 2005, 2007, 2010. Uncharted 1 through 3 was 07, 09, 11. Okay, so you're proving my point right there. That's exactly what I talked about when this conversation started. Also, there's too many games for him to care. Yeah, Carnage can put down Death Stranding 2 and just jump to something else because there's just an ocean of games coming out. He's like, yeah, I'll play this when they port it to PC and I can use a mouse and keyboard. It's a completely respectable decision. And he can just go play something else because there's so many dadgum games. And Dookie Wave over here on Purple is proving the point that I started with in this entire conversation. I said, well, of course you were getting games more often back then. God of War 1, 2, and 3 came out 2 and 3 years apart. 05, 07, 2010. So 05, 2 years later, another one. 3 years later, another one. Do you think they're doing that now? You think they're just going to be like, here's God of War 2018, 2 years later. Here's Ragnarok, 2 years later. Here's God of War Egypt. No. Like, there's no way. They even do sequels in quicker succession. They do. They do sequels really, really fast. Compared to what a lot of games come out at, they do sequels really, really quickly. And it took them 4 years to give you Ragnarok. So what's that tell you? Look at the pattern. God of War in 2005, 2 years later, another one. Then 3 years later, another one. Now we're to the point where it took them 4 years. That should communicate to you it's taking longer to build the games. If we're going to have a discussion about this, we have to move past the table setting. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Yo, Superfly, thank you so much for 4 months of memberships over here on Purple Man. I appreciate that so much. Let's add that to the total. Yeah, you need to expound on what you mean, Dookie Wave. Just woke up, sorry. What's a Lost Soul Aside? I would like to know. Lost Soul Aside is one of the first major releases from the China Hero Project. I do want to acknowledge, Chris said something about, what was the game called? I played it, the Fist game. You said at the very beginning, Fist Forge Shadow Torch from Hero Project is on Xbox Store, and it's on my PC Xbox app. They have already released games in the past. Then I'm having a look. Yeah, they've released a couple China Hero Project games. And again, they are not owned studios or IP by PlayStation. They're merely helping to publish the games as part of their endeavors in China. So they're going to Chinese developers and saying, hey, we'll help publish, but we need the game to be a part of the PlayStation platform launch. And then also, well, not platform launch. I said that incorrectly. It needs to launch on our platform. And I think what they're trying to do is this is why I think it's their secret weapon. They're trying to get into the Chinese market. Lady Gamer says, I think Sony are doing the China Hero Project is a good thing. I think so as well. Going back to the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 days automatically ruins your argument. Why does it ruin their argument, Trill? You could also reuse a lot of assets back in those days. Nowadays, people lose their minds if they reuse animations and assets unless it's a FromSoft game. This is true. This is true. I'm debating if I want to get Lost Soul Aside now or wait on it. I think that's definitely one that you could wait on, mainly because we'd love to see you board games Awaken Realms. What? I get these emails and all the images are broken. Have you guys ever gotten emails like that? It's so weird. Sony didn't own Sucker Punch when they were making Sly Cooper. Yeah, I mean, there's a perfectly good example of someone referenced Sly Cooper and they didn't even own them. Sly Cooper would have been considered a third-party game back then. That's like, oh, see, that right there is a self-report if I've ever seen a self-report. It's like, wait, you counted Sly Cooper. Do you want to know why you counted Sly Cooper? Because you didn't care. You didn't care about who owned the studio. You just played a game and had fun. You did. People are acting like the China Hero Project has not released games in the past. I'm confused. What I've not been acting that way. I think the games I'm going to show you today, Chris, I think they have a lot more potential. I do. I think that like the Fist game or like the AI Limit game, those were never going to be like big splashes. I think Lost Soul Aside is probably their first game that's going to have potential to be like a pretty significant release. It's Chill Will with a $5 super chat says doesn't count because it's going to Xbox and PC. Then Xbox literally has no games. Well, yeah, but again, I just don't want to do that comparison thing today. I want to talk about PlayStation because that's the topic. We don't need to keep comparing to Xbox because Xbox is no longer doing exclusives, so the comparisons aren't even helpful. Trill says, size and scope of the game. Sony didn't own Sucker Punch or Insomniac back then. Games weren't as complex as games are now. This is exactly right. Same with the original Infamous, as Eugene. Do you see? Do you see, like, if you actually look at, this is what's so funny to me. This is why I call it self-inflicted disappointment. Self-inflicted disappointment. You are citing a time and a cadence of games where you're like, I loved all those games back then. Do you know what you didn't do? You didn't know that a lot of those studios were not owned by PlayStation. All you knew is they were exclusive to the PlayStation. That's all that mattered to you. That's all that mattered to you, was that you bought a console and that console came with exclusives and those exclusives were fun. You weren't doing this like, I don't even know what to call it. I don't even know what to call it. It's like you're, what is it? It's like you're doing some kind of credential check where you're like, yes, these are good games, but who owns the studio? Because that will really affect my enjoyment of the game. Well, it didn't affect your enjoyment during PS1, 2, and 3. You're citing games that PlayStation didn't even own the studio. Sly Cooper was made by Sucker Punch, so that person that said that is... It's not, it's wrong. No. You're confusing. They said that. They said they referred to another game by Insomniac. They were referring to multiple games, and I think they scrunched their sentence together. Yeah, I read 2 comments. Sony didn't pick up Insomniac until 2019. The comment I read was, Sly Cooper is a Sony IP and Sucker Punch made it as a second-party studio. I'm reading comments really fast, so I might have just read 2 comments back-to-back that made it sound like I might have confused myself and read the wrong comment with another comment. I certainly have done that before. What they've been saying in my chat is correct. That Sly Cooper was Sucker Punch, but also same rule applies. Insomniac, they were referring to Ratchet. Ratchet was exclusive before PlayStation owned Insomniac. Nobody goes back in time and is like, I really didn't enjoy Ratchet and Clank until PlayStation owned Insomniac. I really didn't enjoy, all those Sucker Punch games until PlayStation owned Sucker Punch. This is probably one of, I think, the biggest microscopes into what has been absolutely disrupting the conversation the last couple of years. It's so forced, it's so manufactured, and we just proved it because people are like, oh, but back then I remember Sly Cooper, and I remember this game, and I remember that game, and it was so fun. You know what's funny? You didn't even realize they didn't own the studios back then. You just told on yourself. You just told on yourself. Yeah, I enjoyed the games. They were fun. What made them fun? Well, they were good games. Well, what makes you celebrate them for PlayStation? Well, they were exclusives. Oh, so you didn't care about who owned the studio. Why do you care now? Sorry, Lona, but what you're saying right now is 100% incorrect. What am I saying that's incorrect? I think every single person in this chat understands that games are taking much longer to develop and cost much more than before. With the scale of production, the cadence we have right now is actually impressive. But the heart of the discussion is, are today's games overproduced? No, that's not the heart of the discussion. You're moving the goalpost to make it about something that we were not discussing. We were discussing somebody coming in chat and saying, PlayStation's been lazy this gen, we don't have enough first-party games. And I said, I don't know why that is all of a sudden the thing that matters the most. PlayStation's spending publishing dollars to bring games to the platform that are exclusive, same as they did during PS1, 2, and 3. As somebody just moments ago cited games from that era of time that they loved that weren't owned by the studios. Like, PlayStation didn't own the studios, I should say. Sorry, I misspoke there. They didn't own the studios, and yet those games were cited as a reference point of like, we got so many more games back then, and they were so enjoyable. Yeah, and you didn't care who owned the studios back then. Why do you care now? Like I said, it's self-inflicted. I'm going to fabricate a new standard, and when they don't meet that standard, I'm now justified in my disappointment. And it's like, where did this standard come from? No one was checking the books on studio ownership when they were playing Sly Cooper. Nobody was checking the ownership books when they were enjoying Ratchet and Clank or Infamous. All the Ratchet and Clank games were third party until Sony bought Insomniac in 2019. Do you see? It's self-inflicted. You can look at the releases part of the Wikipedia page for Santa Monica Gorilla and Naughty Dog and see the slowdown. Studio owner is irrelevant. Okay, but we're talking about two different things, Dookie. You're just adding meat to the bones of what I said, which is, yes, you got games in quicker succession during PS1, 2, and 3 era, and you're just proving. I already showed the slowdown. I already slowed the show down with God of War. It was 05 to 07, 2 years. 07 to 2010, that's 3 years. And then 2018 to Ragnarok was 4 years. You can see it right there, 2, 3, 4. The difference between, the space between every game gets longer every time. We've already established that point. So what you said, Lono, what you're saying right now is 100% incorrect. What have I said that's 100% incorrect? What are you countering there? You're agreeing with me. You haven't typed a thing yet that has not been in agreeance with my position. We're talking about two different things. Brett, thank you so much for 5 months. Seems like there's a subsect of gamers that want PlayStation platform to fail so the games are published where they prefer to play. Am I off base? I don't think it's that. I think if I steelman the position and the argument and I try to make it as strong as possible, I think PlayStation first-party studios have become products in and of themselves. What do you mean by that? Let me explain. People have become fans of the devs to agree, and I'm just trying to steelman the argument. I don't think a lot of people are this thoughtful about it. I think some of these people just want to complain or they just want a console war. But I think there's some well-intended people out here that don't realize they have become fans of the developers, and if those developers aren't showing up enough, they're disappointed. But they'll ignore smash hits like Stellar Blade or Helldivers 2. They'll ignore really quality games like Final Fantasy 16 and Rise of the Ronin. They'll ignore Death Stranding 2. Apparently, it doesn't count. It's like, what? How does Death Stranding 2 not count? Like, I feel like you've gone way too far off the deep end if you're gaming in 2025 and you're disappointed and you're like, yes, but Death Stranding 2 doesn't count. You see here on my sheet of giving them points, I award them no points for Death Stranding 2. It does not count. Ergo, my disappointment is justified. It's like, you've gone too far, brother. It doesn't even sound like you're worried about games. It sounds like you're worried about some scoreboard somewhere. That doesn't even sound like you're concerned with games. As you cite a time when games were coming out faster because development was quicker, games were smaller in scope, and a lot of the games you enjoyed weren't even first-party studios. To my ears at least, you generalized with the other guy who was counting second-party games. It almost sounded like everyone who hates the slowdown is miscounting the number of studios. Well, here's what happens sometimes, Dookie Wave. People are making different points, and I'm interacting with both points. There's a cadence discussion with respect to project size, production time. That's what you're talking about. There was also another discussion about games that count and games that don't. Death Stranding 2 doesn't count, according to the person that started this discussion. Death Stranding 2 doesn't count. And they acted like, and this is another thing they said that sent us down this rabbit trail of, it was so much better back in the day on PS1, PS2, and PS3. And I was like, well, what games were you playing back then? They were coming out faster, probably because of production, which is what you're talking about. But the other element of the discussion is, back then, the games you were playing and celebrating and enjoying, a lot of the times, they were just exclusives, and PlayStation didn't own the studio, and you didn't care. The question you need to ask, and this is a cause for self-reflection, why do you care now? What made you start caring? Something changed in the dialogue about all this, and I don't know what it was, because it never mattered to me. It never mattered to me. All I knew is, when I was on my Xbox, I was getting stuff in Call of Duty that was exclusive. That's all I knew. All I knew is I got an Xbox so I could play Gears of War. It was that simple. I didn't know the inner workings of who made the game. I didn't know the inner workings of who owned the studio. I knew, in the most basic of terms, Gears of War looks awesome. I would like to play it. I am buying an Xbox. You could play it on PC. Well, my PC at the time was not strong enough. I didn't feel like going through the cascade of upgrades because I needed to upgrade my CPU, which meant a new motherboard, which meant new everything. And I didn't want to do that. I was newly married, and I could afford an Xbox 360, so that's what I bought. I didn't want to go down the route of PC. I'd been building PCs since high school, and I didn't want to do it anymore. Fair enough, caught in the crossfire, though I do think it's more interesting to discuss the ballooning budgets than who's first party and who isn't. Okay, let me throw one at you here, Dookie Wave, and I want to know what you think about this, and we can have multiple discussions going at once. So chat, keep making your points. I'll get to your points as well. I have made the prediction, or at least the suggestion, that I think some of these really, really giant studios should start shipping smaller games. I think they should start shipping AA-sized games at AAA quality. We kind of got a glimpse of this at the one leak where Insomniac was considering doing like part 1, part 2 for Spider-Man 3 to keep the budget down, and they'd sell it for like $50 each time. So by the time you were all said and done, you actually had purchased, $100 worth of content, which as long as it's worth it, I don't think anybody would complain, right? No, I've not seen that. Nacro, I'm not really interested in that. So I've made that suggestion, and even that prediction. I think you're going to see studios start placing smaller bets. Instead of placing the future of the studio on the shoulders of one game, make 2 games. Make one game, that's a little bit smaller, a little bit more creative, a little bit more innovative, smaller team, smaller project. They can innovate more. They can be more creative. They can take more risks. And then they're not in jeopardy if it doesn't do that well. It has a greater likelihood of doing well because people will buy on their name alone, especially if they start selling the games at $50 and $60 instead of $70 and $80. Then people will say, well, this is actually a great era of time because now we're getting games at lower cost, but we're still getting fun, good games, even if they're shorter or smaller in scope. Lono's absolutely right. You may think otherwise if you were born in the late 90s or 2000s, but it is true that growing up, no one cared about these things or even discussed these studios. Basically, the new Steam rules say that credit card companies have veto rights. Yeah, I'm not interested in that subject. We're talking about other things right now. I'm not interested in that. Gamers who are unhappy with PlayStation can stop playing or shift to Xbox or whatever. Was that supposed to be Lost Soul Aside unknown? It got some weird scream emoji. I'm not sure what you're talking about. If we can get more games like Kena and Astro, that would be amazing. Like Mafia the Old Country, smaller game, but seems to have good quality. Where have you seen it reported that Mafia the Old Country is a smaller game? Have they said that in an interview? I've not seen that. Even if you focus on a scoreboard, says Adam King, Sony won and Nintendo always runs their own race. The result's undeniable. Just look at Xbox now. Right, but the issue that was brought up in chat was not they're not doing as good as another company. The issue was they're not doing as good as they once did. So invoking Xbox and the others doesn't really help. $50? $50 what? Oh, it's a $50 game? So people are assuming it's smaller. Yo, D's nuts with 4 months of subs over here on Purple. Guys, check your primes. Check your primes. You got to do those manually every month. And check that you've done the like button, man. That like button really helps us out over here on YouTube. Give it an old smackaroony. Try to get us to 200 likes. Try to get us to 200 likes. PlayStation's doing better than they ever have, in my opinion. I believe if you count every game that they've either helped to publish or brokered an exclusivity deal, I believe their cadence has been fantastic. I do. I believe their cadence has been fantastic. I don't think you can actually complain about it. You can only complain about it when you don't count certain games. I agree with smaller bets, says Dookie Wave, but I'm concerned that Sony has upped production quality from game to game to such a degree, maybe the general PlayStation audience rejects games that don't have that quadruple A sheen. Thank you, Drift Juice, for 17 months. Here's why I don't have concerns about, and Milk Dud bumps it to 375. Thank you so much, Milk Dud. The battle between the platforms wages on as it's 51 to 15. It's a palindrome. 5115. You guys can catch up, Purple. Somebody's just got to drop a bomb. And then, you know what? Now's a great time to do it. A 25 bomb would get it, and I would owe your platform again. You guys could steal it again. Here's why I'm not concerned, Dookie Wave. At least not now. There could be cause for concern in the future, but I'm not concerned right now. it's very clear that PlayStation gives their studios plenty of time. One of the things that has caused complaint is that the PlayStation first-party studios are not showing up enough, and I think it's because they're given plenty of time to work on their games. Like, Yotei came out when Yotei was ready. I don't have any concern about that game's optimization, quality. They took their time, and it looks to me like they made a fantastic game. It's been 5 years since their last one. That's a pretty good dev cycle. You know, Minstrel with 4 months. There's also a trend to make franchises a trilogy. It must be easier for the devs. And another gifted from Jaster comes in over here, and that gets us to 377. We're now 23 away. Yeah, that's another thing that really touches on this subject, Dookie Wave. The sequel stigma. Everybody belly aching about sequels, but that's literally a fantastic way to fight against the rising production costs, is to do a sequel. Hey, our first game did great, let's do another one. It can help us keep costs down. It can help the game come to market faster. It's why you got a Horizon sequel, a God of War sequel, a Spider-Man sequel, a Ghost of Tsushima sequel, basically a Ratchet sequel. You see what I'm saying? Like, all those games, and even still those games had high budgets. TLU 1 was also very small compared to TLU 2. Those older games like God of War and Uncharted 1 to 3 were also significantly short and smaller, which allowed 2-year dev cycles. Yeah, it wasn't just graphical fidelity, like size of the games. This is actually true, and I think a very good point. It's not just the graphics and the lighting. The size and the scope of the games is getting better. Hello, Lima. Thank you so much for 25 months of memberships over here on YouTube. We're 2 away. We are 2 away from that 20 bomb bait. We'll see if anybody sets it up and anybody knocks it down. We're at 378. There is also a trend to make franchise... Oh, I already read that. Sorry. Also, have we all forgotten about the mountains of shovelware the 90s had? That would be a really interesting study, B&E video, is to do like actual research into, has gaming gotten worse with respect to the overwhelming amount of quantity that is at low quality? We can admit this, right? There's just hundreds of games every week and month that come out. Quantity is very high, but quality is typically kind of low in a lot of those titles. I actually think the same was true back in the day. I just don't think we paid any attention to the games. I still think quantity has gone up, but the ratio of like low quality within the quantity, the ratio, I don't think has actually gone up. I think even back then you had lots of great games and you had lots of crappy games. Yo, it's good, Laney. So many terrible licensed games in the 90s. Oh yeah, there was an absolute gold rush of like just grab some licensed IP and make a game. Could we get 200 likes on YouTube real quick, guys? Double check. Always make that the ritual when you come into the stream, man. Smack that like button. Belly aching about sequels is stupid anyway, says Bareth Chosen. Gamers have never disliked sequels, but all of a sudden sequels are bad. We're going to get that shirt. I don't know where I got this one. It even has it down here since 62. I don't know where I got this one. I can't remember. Are you excited for Silent Hill F? That's not my vibe of a game. I tried the Silent Hill 2 remake. It's just not my jam. I'm very picky when it comes to scary games. Like, I loved Resident Evil 7, and I think Resident Evil 2 remake was the one that I liked so much. But then I did not like Alien Isolation, and I did not like Outlast. Like, I'm really picky when it comes to, like, spooky, foreboding horror games or horror survival. I'm super picky. It's a me problem. I'm not being critical of those games. I just don't enjoy them. You name successful sequels, yeah, but most, if not 90% of the games you just named continue with the main character that was there when the game blew up. I'm assuming you're taking issue with Yotei then? Is that why you're saying, is that where you're going with the discussion? That you think like Yotei is a problem because they didn't continue with the same character? Go straight to Outlast 2, beautiful game, very much like RE7, better in my opinion. Story's poignant. The space horror game dropping in October is a must. Oh yes, it's a must for Friday night with me and Madam. Yeah, the one where they're in outer space. It's basically a Dark Pictures game. Since when did people get into the habit of complaining over a sequel? I watched a really interesting video today, and I wish I could watch it with you, but it's far too long. And the video was taking issue with a couple of people who were critical of Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree. And the video is called The Lost Art of Video Game Critique by Greg Glintstone. Probably a play on Fred Flintstone. Greg Glintstone. He doesn't actually have a lot of subscribers, and the video has almost 500,000 views, which is always upsetting to me. Like, that hurts my heart when I saw that in his channel. I'm like, you have almost 500,000 views, and you only have 15,000 subs. That is a tragedy. That's just a tragedy. It's like, why are people not subbing to his channel? The video did so well. Sub to his dadgum channel. Anyway, Jaster's going to set it up with 2 singles. There it is. There's the 20 bomb bait. We'll see if YouTube takes the bait or if Purple takes the bait to get us to 400. If we go for 1,000 this week, again, I'll do another album drop on a Friday night. We really need to go big this week with the stretch goals. Did you sub to his channel? I did. You want to know why I subbed to his channel? Because this guy makes videos and does like breakdowns that I think are very helpful. I think are very, very good. He's very thoughtful. I like listening to this type of content. Okay, let me pull up the video for you. I'm just going to show you the video. Okay, here we have The Lost Art of Video Game Critique. Okay. You can see here almost 500,000 views. And, oh, look, it must be doing well. He only had, I swear he only had 15,000 this morning. Maybe this video is making the rounds again and helping him out. In any case, the reason I brought it up is this. Because somebody said that set me down this thought process is, why are people suddenly complaining about sequels, right? Why are people suddenly complaining about sequels? Okay. In his video, he takes issue with the fact, and this is actually very common, and I've talked about this before, which is why I really resonated with his video, because I've made this exact same point. He talked about how people will make a video about a game and only talk about the things they didn't like. And I have talked about this as a frustration point within the meta of YouTube. People don't want to know what you liked. They want to know what you disliked, because what most people are doing, they are trying to filter out the games that they're not going to enjoy. So they want to know, do you have 2 gripes or do you have 25 gripes? Do you have 2 criticisms or do you have 25 criticisms? I get it. You're using YouTube as a tool, so you're being utilitarian. You're like, just give me the bad and I'll decide whether or not I want to get the game. Okay, so the point he was making is, if you're looking for bad, and that's all you're really focusing on, that's all you're really zeroing in on, it will typically make you find bad things because you're basically looking for them. It's why there was a really good video called Woke Spotting, where the guy was talking about how people are looking for the tiniest little sliver of something in a game so they can scream woke. And it's like, you're literally looking for it. You're going to find it in any game, okay? I think this is happening now. So I think what has happened is the conversation has been poisoned a little bit, and I don't think anybody's like going like this to be like, oh. I think it's just the nature of a fight where you have people trying to claim their team is better than this team. So what you start doing is you start coming up with parameters or a lens to say, we need to find negative things to say about this company. We have to find negative things to say. So you're looking for them. Well, this is why you'll start to complain about things that gamers never complained about. Well, we're not getting enough first-party games. What the huh? Where did that come from? I'll tell you where it came from. Didn't come from preference. Didn't come from the past. We've already established today that it didn't come from the past. People were commonly playing games back then that they thought were first party, and they weren't. They were exclusives. and PlayStation didn't own the studio, and you didn't give a frick. You care now because it's entered the conversation as a measurement point. But it's not a measurement point. It's somebody looking for a bad thing. So they've just kind of created it. Oh, this is bad. Why? I don't understand. So if PlayStation would have spent their money differently and like bought Shift Up and then Stellar Blade came out, well, we could count it in our little fight, but it wouldn't change the game. It wouldn't. It would change how PlayStation spent their money. That's all. You are worried about how they're spending their money. If they would have spent the money to buy the studio instead of just publishing the game, well, then I could count the game in my little score sheet. What? I don't have an issue with Ghost sequel. I have an issue with knowing Ghost has ended Jin's story, but y'all need to stop acting like that's an unrealistic criticism. It's not an actual valid opinion. It being valid, it's valid because it exists. It being valid is different than it being, I think. How do I want to slice this? It's completely valid for you to say, I wish they would have continued with Jin. That's valid. That's an opinion. That's valid. I liked Jin Sakai, and I wish they would have continued with Jin Sakai. That's valid. It's not valid as a criticism. Do you see the difference? A preference is not a criticism. It's not. That's like somebody saying, I wish they would put easy mode in Souls games, Souls-likes. That's a preference. That's not a criticism. Oh man, those games suck because there's no easy mode. No, that's not a valid criticism. No, you're not criticizing the actual product as failing to do something good or well or at quality or being feature complete. You're just using your preference and claiming, well, it's a valid criticism. I think this is where people really cross wires. And they take offense. They're like, no, it's valid. No. Your opinion's valid. You are completely in your right to be like, I would prefer to continue with Jin Sakai. Just like I'm completely in my right to say, I don't really want to continue with Jin Sakai. I thought Jin's story ended rather well with the Ikishima DLC, and we don't need any more. I thought it would have been a little bit trivializing to just basically take him and just put him somewhere else. Hey, go be the Ghost again. Go help all these people, like a freaking Marvel superhero that gets summoned to New York or something. Like, I thought that would have been very trivializing to his story. He becomes legend. He sacrifices his honor. He sacrifices his relationship with his uncle to become the Ghost of Tsushima. To take him away from that, that's a part of the fabric of his identity and his existence. And to remove him from that environment would have been trivializing to the story in the first game. Now, that's all my opinion, and you don't have to agree with it. But I think that's more compelling than just, I wanted to play with him some more. Pause. I think my position's more compelling and stronger than just, well, I would like to play more with Jin Sakai. What? Okay, is there a particular reason? Is it based on anything other than the fact that you just think he's cool? Again, your opinion's valid. Your opinion's valid. You are completely okay to say, I would prefer to continue playing him as him. That is not a valid criticism, because a criticism would require breaking down how it is an inherent flaw in the game or how it doesn't function well, right? You would need to do some like story criticism or literary criticism or like narrative criticism to argue that Atsu was a bad choice. You can't do that yet because the game's not out. You can't actually do criticism until you've gone in and said, well, what they did with Atsu and what they did here and what they did there, that's bad. Now, valid criticisms before a game's come out, you can do that. You can make valid criticism of a game before it comes out. If it's a long-standing game that's third person and they go first person, that's valid as a criticism to be like, I really don't think you guys should have done that. You're changing the fabric of the game. It's a valid criticism before a game comes out if they're like with that rematch soccer game, it doesn't have crossplay. Well, before the game came out, if they said that, that's a valid criticism. It's like, that's a multiplayer game. You should have crossplay. What are you doing? it's a valid criticism to say, we're launching our game at 30 FPS. That's valid. The game's not out yet. I don't have to play it to know, hey, that's really below the standard line of what we expect from a game right now. Gender swap? There's no gender swap. Why would you say gender swap? Gender swap would be if they suddenly had Jin in the game as Jill Sakai. That would be a gender swap. I don't think you understand that term. They're not gender swapping the character. They're doing a new story. I see what you're saying, but at the end of the day, we are in an era where sales determine success, and if they sell out the original, then good job, but what are the odds? Ghost was a PS4 game? We live in an era where sales determine success. I mean, that's opinion. That's not factual. I think a game could be successful even if it doesn't sell as much as the first game. If the game generates a profit and the people that invested in it are saying it was successful, then it was successful, because that determines the future of the franchise. You could have one game sell 20 million lifetime, and then the next game sell 15 million lifetime, and you're not going to be like, yeah, well, it wasn't successful. You'd be like, well, no, it was totally successful. It did great, and it made them their money back. It made them profit. They're going to make another one. So I don't think we're in an era of time where sales is the only determining factor. Like, if it doesn't sell more than the first game, it's a failure. Success is defined by whether or not those who invested in it felt it was worthy of another round of investment because of whether it generated profit or not. You could actually have a game sell less than the first and still be determined to be a success. In fact, a lot of the times, it's difficult for the second game to outsell the first because the first game's been out for a lot longer. And especially when you have a game in the PS4 era, like when Ghost of Tsushima landed, you're at like over 110 million PlayStation 4s at the time, I think. I think now we're like 120 million. So like 110 million, there's way more people to sell to, and it's been out for a very, very long time. And it was highly anticipated. There are factors that made Tsushima such an enormous hit. It was almost like what everybody had been waiting for. It was like, this is what we've been wanting Assassin's Creed to do for a very long time, and they haven't done it. And here they are doing it. Do you see? So I don't think... Oh, and if there's any indication that Yotei will not be a commercial success, I've not seen it. Grifters on Twitter are losing their... oh my gosh, are they losing? They're losing. View count on a tweet and Twitter blue money ain't going to change reality, okay? It ain't going to change anything, sweetheart. Listen to me now. That trailer of their state of play is crushing it. That game is going to sell incredibly well. I do not think anybody is going to be like, but a girl, though. Look at the trailer. Look at the recent state of play. Look at its numbers. That game's going to do just fine. That is not even a mainstay. That's not God of War. That's not Spider-Man. That's not Horizon. That is a sequel to one game. One. It's not like there's some long-standing Ghost franchise that it's standing on the shoulders of. The state of play has over 3 million views. You don't got to. I don't see any cause for concern about Yotei's commercial success. I'm telling you. Those grifters, they picked bad targets, and they continue to pick bad targets. What are they going to do? They're going to do the same thing they did with Aloy. They're going to do the same thing with Aloy. Pick a really bad picture of the lead character, claim she's an Uggo, and then the game will be commercially successful, and they'll stop talking about it. Ask any one of those people why they always include Aloy in their thumbnails and their breakdowns. Ask them to talk about the financial success of the Horizon franchise. They won't do it. Because it doesn't fit their narrative. And they ain't going to do it with Yotei either. They're not. They'll throw her face on a thumb to be like, look at this Uggo. Look at this agenda. If my eyes rolled any harder, they'd pop out of my dadgum skull. They won't talk about the financial success or the commercial success of those games because it would break their narrative. What's good, brat? Stop it, Zep. Guys, make sure you're smashing like. We just hit 200 likes right at the hour. That's fantastic. We've got a 20 bomb waiting to be dunked over here. Jazster did the setup. Every 50 now, I give 5. So when that hits 400, I owe that platform 5. It's up for the taking, whether purple or YouTube grab it. the actor's comments on social media really bothered some fans. Yeah, I would tell those people to, upgrade to adult underwear, and or maybe they need to wear adult diapers. I don't know. Seem a little too sensitive. People that throw around, the term snowflake act like snowflakes. But I would also say this. If tomorrow they announced that Mark Hamill was voicing the Joker in a new Batman game, do you think people would be concerned he was going to ruin the game? Have you seen his Twitter feed ever? I don't think that's a problem. I don't think actors have the ability to do anything to the product based on their own personal views. Do you know the personal views of the guy who played Jin Sakai? Do you know his views? Do you know his politics? No. I mean, if he was really outspoken, you would. Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't. I don't know. I don't know if it would affect anything. Do you think Christopher Judge is like... Do you think a lot of these actors are like hyper... Where do you think a lot of the actors in the games land? On the political spectrum. Where do you think they land? I'm just here to tell you, every game you've ever played is full of actors who don't agree with your views on things, and it doesn't hurt the game. Like, your favorite game, you're not like, man, this is my favorite game, and I'll tell you what really made it great is every single actor who played a role, they all align with me politically. Like, come on, boys. Come on. Breaking news, an actor is there to entertain and nothing else. That's right. Interesting how they wait until the sequel to pull so it doesn't look like what it is. How many of those 13 million people are buying if we start off with Atsu? Y'all are funny. I don't think you're making a point. I'm confused. You think hang on a second. I'm going back to read your previous statement. You said, didn't say it is a problem if it doesn't make it past the original. I'm stating the fact it's not an easy sell. Y'all can believe what y'all want, but how many would have bought Ghost if we started with Atsu? I don't know. Look at the success of the Horizon franchise. Horizon Zero Dawn? Anybody? Seriously. Allow yourself to think differently about something for just a second. Just allow it. It's not scary. It's not scary. Just open the door and try to think differently for just a second. Why is Horizon so successful then? You start out as Aloy. A redhead who's like pretty, but she's not like bodacious. She's not like walking around buxom with jiggle physics. I think Aloy's pretty, but they did not ship that game on her being some scantily clad bombshell, and yet Horizon's one of their most successful franchises. Explain that. You start off with her. If you started out Ghost of Tsushima with Atsu, it would probably be a very successful game because it would have been a great concept. Now, it would have been a completely different story because one of the most compelling things about Tsushima, funny enough, wasn't really even in the trailers, was that it was a samurai who was going to have to essentially abandon the way of the samurai. Y'all believe what you want is just a dismissive way to say, I believe what I believe and have zero interest in actually understanding differing views. Aloy IRL would have these guys drooling. Yeah, the actor's very pretty, and she looks just like the actor, unless you look at photoshopped images. She looks exactly like the actor. They're side-by-sides that we've shown on stream many, many times. But they'll just Photoshop her to make her look she got stung by a bee, and they're like, look how ugly she is. Yotei production budget is most likely double than the first part. It is a standalone sequel with the new character models and area. It probably costs $150 million. Where are you getting this figure and this number that the Ghost of Yotei production budget is most likely double that of the first? Where are you getting this number? Wasn't Tsushima like one of the most cost-efficient games ever made or something? Like, wasn't the budget incredibly small? Why would you think that they would suddenly just double the budget? I'm not saying it hasn't been doubled. I'm just saying, where are you getting this? Are you getting this from information, an article, an analyst, the sucker punch, or are you just guessing? $70 million for Tsushima. Yeah, Tsushima was like a very, very effective budget spend. So like it being double that is not necessarily that alarming given how successful Tsushima was. So I'm not saying it's not double. I'm just saying, did you get that information somewhere? I'd assume double two. Isn't that the pattern to date? Part of why I'm invoking Tsushima's budget in this discussion is that it's easy to double such a small budget. It's not like Tsushima was 120 million and now they're spending 240. Tsushima's budget was really small. That's easy to double, especially when you have such great success with the first game. You're obviously going to say, hey, let's really up the ante here. Yeah, I think about a 140 budget for Yotei is fine. Like, yeah, as long as you're under, I think as long as you stay under that 200, you're in a great spot when you're such a big, title. I'm not making a point. I know for a fact, he's invoking the word fact, so we're really going to deal with something strong here. I know for a fact some are not even looking its way if we don't have a good male lead, but you literally pulled a different game, different genre. But what about this ISP? No, I gave reference to a game that was very, very successful who started out with a lead as a female, showing that that's not a deal breaker for lots of people. Okay, so you're not citing a fact, you're citing anecdotal evidence, right? It's anecdotal that you know some people that aren't going to buy Yotei because it's a girl, okay? I see your anecdotal evidence and I raise you my own, which means we're in a stalemate. I know people who are going to get Yotei because it's a girl. My daughter's obsessed. She's 11 and she's begging to know when she's going to be old enough to play the game. She's obsessed with ninjas and she's a little girl. So she could not get enough of watching me play as Naue in AC Shadows. And every time she sees my wallpaper on PlayStation, she asks if the game is out and when she'll be allowed to play it. So your anecdotal evidence is not any more or less compelling than mine. There are people in the market that will or will not buy a game based on what it looks like and based on the main character, which means you haven't made a compelling case that like Yotei is going to do poor financially or commercially. Again, I think we have reason to believe it will do well based on the state of play's viewership. It's impressive if your 11-year-old plays a game like that. I'm probably not going to let her play games like that until she's in her teens. 14, 15, I'm thinking. And then you can always turn the difficulty down. But I don't let her play games like that right now, no. They watch me play and I usually say, hey, you got to get out of here because they're kind of violent. And my kids aren't bothered by violence because they've listened to books and things where there's war and fighting. But seeing it is a bit different. And so I typically don't let them see that. But that's just, my choice as a parent and it's subjective. I'll probably let my son play them earlier than her because he's different and and also the younger typically gets to do things faster than the older did. That's just the way that it goes with siblings. But I don't think there's any evidence right now that Yotei is going to do poorly financially. I don't think we have any evidence to that. I think the reception to the trailer alone was good, and then the state of play is very impressive. It was getting like 1 million views a day. That's very impressive. That's very impressive numbers. It's going to be really difficult for your daughter when you have to explain to her why Yotei failed due to a female protagonist. Poor kiddo doesn't understand the industry. Girls equal bad. Yeah. I'll let her know. I'll sit her down and be like, listen, you just have to realize that nobody wants to play games with a female lead. Sorry, kiddo. Oh, wait, hang on. Except for Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West. They did very well. AC Shadows was the second most commercially successful Assassin's Creed ever made. Except for those. Oh, wait, hang on. There's also Tomb Raider. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's also the spin-off Uncharted game that was really, really beloved and people really liked it, and it was 2 leads that were females. Except for those. Oh, yeah, wait, hang on. Also Metroid. Yeah. Wait. Yeah, also the Stellar Blade. Yeah, forgot about that one. Yeah. Oh, wait. Hang on. And The Last of Us Part 2. Yeah. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait. Resident Evil. Yeah. Sorry. Except for all of those games. Yeah, games with female leads don't. Oh, yeah, wait. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot about Bayonetta. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. She'll be so disappointed to learn that female leads do so poorly. Oh, I forgot about Returnal. I keep forgetting about all these games where the Princess Peach, Zelda. Yeah, I mean, it's... Anyway, what did Brap say? Mash wants me to read what Brap said. According to LinkedIn post, Chris Anjos, Ghost dev budget is $60 million. Wait. Brap, are you referring to the first game as 60 or the second? Because I know the first game's budget was ridiculously small. It was like surprisingly small. Oh, first game was 60. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Control. Control's another game. Female lead. I'll have to break it to her gently as I just hand her a pile of games to enjoy. Tomb Raider? Yeah, I said Tomb Raider. See, this is what I think we just need to do when these subjects comes up. Let's just bring good vibes and be silly about it. Let's joke about it, right? I think getting frustrated by it, getting irritated by it, that's completely legitimate to find, to feel a level of frustration about it. But seriously, we should just joke about this stuff and just have good vibes about it. Y'all can have your Ghost. It's just not everyone's cup of tea. I'm not saying it won't sell. It won't do anything Ghost did sales-wise, and it will be funny seeing how it gets defended for reasons. Okay, so Ghost of Tsushima first year sales. In the first year, it sold over 5 million copies, making it the fastest selling first-party PlayStation 4 original game. Okay. I actually don't have any problem agreeing that I don't think Yotei is going to do 5 million in the first year. I think it'll probably land closer to 3. Well, Final Fantasy 16 is a long-standing franchise. It did 3 million in the first. Yeah, I don't know. 5 might be doable. Final Fantasy 16 did 3 million on a much smaller PlayStation 5 platform at the time. PlayStation 5's got a lot more in circulation now. I don't think 5 million in the first year is that hard to do, homie. I think you might be wrong. I think 5 mil first year, they might be able to do it. It's a bigger franchise now. It's more known. It's more recognized. I think you're going to end up being incorrect. I'm usually very moderate in my predictions on sales because I'm not good at that. I'm not good at predicting sales. To me, it's like I don't have any expertise in that area. I'm like, I don't know, maybe. I actually think 5 million is doable, which means it would be doing as well as Tsushima, which would falsify your claim. Yeah. And I actually think Tsushima had a lot in its corner. It was at the end of the gen, which is a great time to sell a really, really good game. Ghost of Tsushima did 2.4 in 3 days. That's not bad. I mean, didn't Final Fantasy 16 do like 3 million like opening week or something, or opening month, and everybody acted like that was a flop? And it's like, what? There were not even close to the number of PS5s in circulation at the time. I mean, to PS4s when Tsushima came out. Days Gone outsold Tsushima. Really? It did? That's impressive. That's really crazy that they couldn't justify a sequel if that's true. I never looked at the sales numbers of Days Gone. It doing 5 million early on would be better than Ghost because of player-based differences. I also like how you goalpost my point to first year. Well, wait, what did you say? You said it won't do anything Ghost did sales-wise. You didn't specify what you meant. I think it's fair to look at the first year. That's the only way. We can't wait for lifetime, homie. One game's out longer. What goalpost do you suggest that we use? How should we measure the sales of Yotei versus Tsushima? Lifetime's not ever going to be a fair comparison because one game has been out for 5 years longer, brother. Think about what you're saying. Comparing the lifetime sales, it's never going to be a fair comparison. Tsushima came out 5 years ago. It's going to always probably have it's always going to have an advantage. Now, if Yotei outsells it, that's really impressive because it's at a disadvantage. So, first year, I think, is fair. I think that's a fair comparison. How do they both do first year? Because you're making predictions about it not doing well or selling well, and you're invoking Tsushima. Tsushima also came out during the pandemic in a light year. Yeah, Tsushima also came out in 2020, which boosted the sales of basically every game that came out within that year. So if it surpasses Tsushima in its first year, brother, your claim has been torn to ribbons. You're allowed to not like something, but this predictive, it's not going to do well, it's not going to sell well, I don't think you're going to end up being correct at all. I don't think 5 million in a week. We were saying 5 million in the first year. Tsushima did 5 million in the first year. Yo, it's good, Rose Girl. And I was simply saying, I stopped myself because I started to say, I don't know, maybe, maybe not. And then I remembered Final Fantasy 16. And like, Final Fantasy 16 did 3 million. And there was way less PS5s in circulation back then. There are tons of PlayStation 5s in circulation now. I think 5 million in the first year is totally doable. Female lead: Horizon, Plague's Tale, Hellblade, Life is Strange, Control, Tomb Raider, Stellar Blade, Nier Automata, Bayonetta, Perfect Dark, Metroid, Last of Us 2, South of Midnight, Returnal, etc. Yeah, and all those games have had their own versions of success for the most part, I would say. Yo, thank you for the sub over here on Purple Snake Eyes. 8 months of member. If anybody takes that 20-bomb dunker bait, it's now an Agent of Chaos 20-bomb. We'll see if anybody takes it. Whoever hits it gets it. It's yours for the taking, Purple, as well as YouTube. And guys, you can keep submitting questions with the question command or the Q command, and I will get to those later. We're doing question and answer now later in the stream, and I'm going to be getting to what I think is the secret weapon. PlayStation secret weapon is something I'm going to get to in a moment. And it is the China Hero Project. I'm going to put some games in front of you that you might not know about. And a 5-bomb comes in from Rockin' Robin. You guys could tag team this. A couple more 5-bombs, and we will be at the 400 mark. Thank you so much, Rockin' Robin. I greatly appreciate it. Zycon resubbing over here with 4 months. Guys, always check your primes. Always check your renewal dates. That does support me directly, and I greatly appreciate it. We had a little bit of a post-showcase summer slump, and you guys have been bouncing us back, and I greatly appreciate that. Yo, it's good, Snake Eyes. Good afternoon and evening to you as well. Also, Tsushima was really successful on PC. A lot of PC players were enthralled with the game. I feel like it didn't perform as well on Steam as I hoped it. Maybe because I'm such a big fan. It only has 44,000 reviews. I don't think it went crazy on PC, to be quite honest with you. No, excuse me. I think it was a good port. I don't think it had like high crazy success. Sorry. Did you ever choke yourself by swallowing like an idiot? Did you ever do that? Good golly. Ghost of Tsushima peaked at 77,000 players on Steam. I don't think it went like commercially insane on Steam. I think it did fine. But I don't think it went like I don't think it went off like gangbusters or something. That's really good. That's good for them. I'll agree. I'm not saying it's bad. It is certainly good, but I don't. The way it was described, it was like, oh man, it went crazy on PC. I was like, I don't think it went crazy. I think it did fine. If you're choking on something and, oh, Mash ruined his own short joke. That was going to be a short joke. Sorry, Mash. You accidentally bumped the enter button. I've choked myself like that like too many times like I forgot how to breathe. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible when it happens. It's like embarrassing. It's like I forgot how to human. It's like, huh? You don't know how to breathe? Phantom Blade Zero is going to have such a big moment at the end of the month. I can't wait to see what they cooked. Wait, did they officially announce they're doing something? He knows. Oh, Mash, I know you. Yes. I know you. I've developed the ability to foresee the short jokes coming. Yes. They're doing an event in China. Am I wrong? Is it not I thought it was a China Hero Project game. Or is it just going to be at the China event? Is Phantom Blade Zero part of China Hero? I don't think that it is. No, it's not. I mentioned it in the show open, and I thought that it was. I think I've made that mistake before. Because they go to the China Hero event, but they're not a part of the China Hero Project, and that's why I always get confused about it. I think haven't they gone to this event before? The main complaint I'm seeing, the main consensus that is valid is seeing 70% of the animations in the first game. Wait, T-Bird, are you this can't possibly be true. Somebody's done a breakdown. You're claiming that 70% of the animations in Yotei are from Tsushima? She has weapons that you didn't even have in the first game. How could that even be possible? You don't have an Odachi or dual swords or a spear or a Kasurigama in the first game. Those would all be new animations. That would make it really hard to claim 70%. That's where the other 30... Okay, so I am traditionally known for being very bad at math. But she has 5 weapons, 4 of which are new. That math don't math, homie. How do 4 out of 5 weapons being new get you to 30% of the animations? That doesn't make any sense to me. I'm bad at math, admittedly, but I think 4 versus 1 in a ratio of animations, I think the 4 is going to equal more. There will be more animations. You're not going to get the 70%. Yes, she has a katana, but she doesn't even have all of the stances that Jin Sakai had, so those animations wouldn't even be there. He has 4 stances for the katana. She does not have 4 stances with the katana as far as we know. Now, that might end up being true, but for now, I didn't see any evidence of different stances with the katana in the video. Now, maybe somebody did a breakdown and found stances. I didn't see stances. I saw a switch to multiple weapons instead of multiple stances. How in the world do the animation sets for the Odachi, the dual blade, the spear, and the Kasurigama, how do these 4 only equal 30% of her animations? What you're saying doesn't make any sense. Like, that's not possible. That's not mathematically possible. Every single one of these weapons are going to have move sets, defensive sets, ability sets. Those are all going to add up to a higher quantity than whatever the katana can add up to. Don't listen to the grifters. Yeah, it sounds like you're watching grifting content that just states something as if it's fact, and because they say it authoritatively into a microphone, you just believe it. That's not something I do. I will always check something. I'm like, well, let's go look. Let's go see. And that's why I asked. I was like, has somebody done a breakdown and actually said 70% of the animations in this trailer are from the first game? Yeah, I forgot, Snake Eyes, that Pac-Man game comes out tomorrow. We're in a bit of a tough spot because Donkey Kong also comes out tomorrow, which is arguably a bigger title, but I'm super interested in that, in the Labyrinth game. Also, repeat animations aren't a huge problem. If they have enemies that are repeating animations, why would I care about that? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Do I really need them to spend time and energy changing a guy doing this with the bow? Oh, the horror. They used the same animation. What they should have done is had him be like, I'm going to shoot you sideways. Like, what the frick? Like, you don't need new animations for certain things. That doesn't make any sense. That's a waste of time and money. If a guy pulls out his sword, if a guy swings his sword, you understand that a lot of the attack animations are based off of like actual fighting methods. So they're going to look and be similar because that's how people use those weapons. You can't like reinvent the method of swinging katanas or holding up a shield. You see what I'm saying? Like, you're working within the confines of realistic situations. Like, it's not realism. It's realistic in, like, they're holding the shield up, they're holding the sword up, and they're going to use methods of combat that are typical for those things, which, if they already have perfectly good animation sets, why would they do entirely new ones? Impressive that you can see that far ahead from that perspective. I knew as soon as I said I can see short jokes coming, somebody would make that joke. Not every dude swings his katana the same in the public restroom. Stop. For Ghost of Yotei, the animation's done with mocap. Yeah, I mean, for Atsu, I'm assuming she has all new animation sets that they used the actress for. They weren't just like, yeah, Jin will be fine. Again, she has 4 new weapons that are going to all have new animation sets because Jin didn't use any of that stuff. We're also forgetting the fact that she apparently hits a flintlock pistol and a rifle. Those will all be completely new animation sets that were not in the previous game. This is what I was talking about at the beginning. This is what I was talking about. Looking for problems and then just creating them out of thin air. Nobody went from one sequel to the next in the past and was like, yeah, but that animation was the same as the last time. Like, when I played the second Donkey Kong Country, I was like, what the frick? He still jumps and spins the same until it rolls up into a little ball, and then he goes into the barrel, and the barrel shoots the same. I can't, these lazy devs. No, I was like, yo, I'm playing a new Donkey Kong. This is sick. These measurements aren't measurements. They're not. They're willful unhappiness. You're choosing to be unhappy. When my daughter says she's bored, do you know what I say? I say, boredom is a choice. Just like interrupting and tardiness. I think I got that from Dirty Jobs guy. And I love it. Boredom is a choice. You're choosing in your mind to feel bored. Actually, I think it's a mashup of Louis C.K. and the guy from Dirty Jobs. I think they both said things like that. And I love it. It's a great thing to say to kids. Boredom is a choice. Yeah, Mike Rowe said something about, like, tardiness and interrupting are choices. He might have been talking about boredom as well when he said that. In any case, I think these are choices. You're unsubbing by... I don't think anybody cares, but thanks for telling us. We'll do our best to attempt to miss somebody we don't know who you are. Do you agree that you can be characterized as a pixel-sized warrior with a katana complex? Huh? I don't know what you're asking, Mash. Who? I don't know who they are. I don't know if they've ever spoken here before. My wife always tells our kids, only boring people are bored. That's pretty good. Yeah, I guess his username is Don't Talk to Me. I mean, that's truth in advertisement, isn't it? he goes into every stream and he says, I'm unsubbing, bye. And when people talk to him, he's like, see, this is exactly why I'm leaving. No one will obey the terms of my username. Don't talk to me. He has a 100% record of being like, I can't hang out here. You guys are you're not abiding by the terms of my username. And a 10 bomb comes in from Mash. Mash thinks he can make short jokes and then just make up for it by doing big member bombs. John Lepkowski is trying to summon the farty bomb by spamming the farty bomb emote. Oh, Alex is going to steal it for Team Purple with the 5 bomb, and he gets us to 402. He's keeping Purple in the fight. He's keeping him in the fight. It's now 67-22. There it is. Multiple times now today. You guys, this is twice now. We do 5 every 50. I had to slow it down. I was spending a silly amount because we have so many primes and so many renewals because we count all of those now, and we used to only count new. I had to. I'm unsubbing because you're ignoring your chats. Wait, what did you say? Don't talk to me. My application tells me what you say in my chat. When you said, I'm unsubbing by, that was the first thing you've ever said in my stream. Homie, what? The first thing you ever said to me, you got a reply. You understand that YouTubers have applications and we can see what you say in our streams. Your account was also made in December of last year, so clearly you're here in good faith and not someone on an alt who was previously banned. He's running at a 100% reply rate. He's got me beat. Yeah, you're currently 2 for 2. You've gotten a reply from me twice now. Ignoring chat, really? There are a lot of things I've been accused of. I mean, I think I've been accused of everything, honestly. Except for maybe murder. I've never been accused of ignoring chat. Yo, Quinn Bart, thank you so much for the brand new member over here on YouTube. There's a reason that we titled that Gifted Member. That's intended for gifting. You want to go to Member Plus. It's the $6 membership. We literally changed the name to try to help with that, but YouTube doesn't help us. I mean, if I could make the $6 the default one, I would. You will not get into all the content at Gifteds. We give people who are paying for their own memberships, we give them a little bit more. You've murdered words and phrases. I've called the police. They say it's out of their jurisdiction. This is true. I do murder words. Are we going to talk about the DK Bonanza reviews? They're all really good. All right. That's a wrap. You can ship that video. Like and subscribe. If this is a short, I love you. There's nothing else to say. It's got a 90 and a 91. A 90 on Metacritic and a 91 on OpenCritic. So no, Cube, I'm be real with you. I can't do anything with Nintendo. We're going to play it tomorrow. People would not have tuned in for a review roundup of Donkey Kong, and to be honest, what would we have said? Everyone loves it. Like, you know what I mean? We did that with Expedition 33, and it was such a boring review roundup. They're like, everybody loves it. I don't think you care about your community. Okay, then you're wasting time being here. If I don't care about my community, then why would you spend any more time here than you already have? You're free to leave. Hasayo with 44 months in a VIB. Glad to be here this year and going forward will be good for games. And Quinn Bart upgrades. There it is. I count pluses as 2. We're at 405. We are at 405. Let's get it, boys. Let's get it. Let's get 500 today so that Thursday and Friday are all bonus. I want to go for 1,000 this week. I really, really do. Let's go for 1,000 members. Renewals, primes, gifteds, all of it. If you're brand new, consider signing up, man. Hit join and hit member plus. If you guys haven't hit the like button yet, always make sure you go through that ritual. Get here, settle into the stream, get the chatting, get the lurking, but don't forget to hit the like button. That thumbs up button helps us. We need to look at these China Hero Project games, but the discussion has been so good. I don't want to just arbitrarily stop. That's a good one, Trill. That's a really, really good one. That's one of my favorites. That's fantastic. If I paste this onto Twitter, will it still be animated, or will it do? Yeah, I don't think I can just paste it and it'll still be animated. I don't think so. Let me try. I'll try it in Discord first. It's not. Why is it not letting me paste it? He's gonna steal that one. Save image? What? I don't understand Discord anymore. Why do they make saving images so annoying? It's such a good GIF. That's one of your best. I'm gonna try save image as. We'll just save it into downloads. I want to tweet it. It's good. It's a good image. But the studio isn't first party. Okay, I'm done. And a 50 bomb from MASH comes in out of nowhere. He says, no more today, Twitch. He's going to take it and not give any room to purple. Oops, hang on. I messed that up. Oh, now we owe 5. We owe 5 to YouTube. Oops. Oh, and Wired Rope's going to answer back with his own 5 bomb and give him 27 in the battle and give us 61. Oops, 61 in the total for the week. And then a single comes in from Classic over here on YouTube. Thank you so much, Classic. I appreciate it so much. Oh, I already counted you in the 109. That's why I went to 109 from 8. Mash going ham. You guys need a Mash over there on purple. You need somebody who can just drop 50 bombs willy-nilly, man, so you guys can compete. I do owe YouTube a 5, and I want to pay that now. Zubair says effing pork pie. I don't know if pork pie can do it all on his own, though. You know, that's a lot to ask. Can you see all of chat history? For the most part. If it goes back too far, it's really hard to see. Whiskey Neat, I missed your resub on purple. I'm sorry. Whiskey Neat with 4 months on purple. Here, Peasants, now back to YouTube. And then Savage Sharkbite gifts 1. Renews 1 as well. 48 months from Savage Sharkbite. And purple's still in the fight. I mean, 29 to 109. I mean, that's doable. That's doable. They y'all could do something with that. Why does it always seem like people who hate on female characters are secretly trying to say they're scared? I mean, that feels like projection. I don't think they're scared. I think there are people are genuinely not... I think there are people who genuinely don't want to play as a girl or as a woman, and that's fine. I think there are people who just don't like it. They just prefer to play as a dude. I think they need to maybe level up a little bit in self-awareness, because they're like, well, why is there an option to play as a guy? It's like, nobody ever asks that when you play something like Tsushima. Is there an option to play as a girl? You know what I mean? They basically have main character syndrome. They do. They have main character syndrome. They're like, well, the game should just cater to me. Game should cater to me. They don't go to any game and say, well, can I play as a girl? No. They're just like, oh, sweet. I can't wait to play as in Tsushima. Can't wait. Can't wait to play. But then when Yotei comes out, they're like, well, can I play as a guy? It's like, what the frick? Why? No. It's a new story. It's a new game. It's a new thing. Like, nobody boots up Tomb Raider and is like, well, do I have to play as Lara Croft? The game's about her. No, that would be dumb. That would be so dumb. If you want to make your own character, go play a dadgum RPG. Don't play a narrative-driven game. Who said erasure? Who's saying that? T-Bird says, scared, bro. I literally had one comment and none of y'all replied on because I was right in the act of calling y'all out. T-Bird, what did you say that we didn't reply to? I felt like I was replying to you the entire time. He definitely cares. This is literally the only thing I disagree with Reforge on. Call me soft, but ask for me to get banned. I don't know why anybody's asking you to get banned. You've been very respectful in your position, and I welcome disagreement. I think it makes for an interesting stream. We've been discussing things with you for over an hour and 20 minutes, and I believe people have largely enjoyed the discussion, even if they don't appreciate what you're saying. Yeah, I got Mash's 50 bomb. It's been added. And I just took up for you, T-Bird, and said that I don't think we need to project onto the people saying this that they're scared. I said that's projection, which was me passively defending you. I think there are people who genuinely don't want to play as a girl. I simply said, I think you need to level up a little bit in self-awareness. You've got main character syndrome. You don't boot up Tsushima and say, but can I play as a girl? Nobody boots up Tomb Raider and is like, well, why do I have to play as a girl? The dadgum game is about her. You coming to a narrative-driven game and being like, but can I play as a guy? That's stupid. I'm sorry. I don't have a nicer way of saying that. If that's upsetting to you, I apologize, but that's dumb. It's a dumb thing to do. It's not intelligent. It's foolish. It is foolish. Nobody goes to God of War and is like, but why can't I switch to a girl? Because it's about him. It's about Kratos. It's about the God of War. This is about the Ghost of Yotei. It's about her. Like, and if you don't want to play a game, you don't want to play games or embrace stories about people that aren't like you can't really play anything. I don't have anything in common with a Japanese samurai adopted man in feudal Japan when the Mongols invade, and I loved Tsushima. I don't have anything in common with him. Oh, we both have a penis? Well, who the frick cares about that? I know we have something in common with not agreeing on this, and I can live with that. Some can't. That doesn't upset me. It's literally an opinion that's old as dirt. That's my point, though. It's like, if you only play games because you're like, well, I can't really identify with somebody because they're a different gender, like, what the frick? Overcoming adversity is a shared thing that we all deal with. Overcoming, frustration, failure, wanting to get revenge on people who hurt you. I don't need to have the same genitalia to be like, I can get down with Atsu. I've been there. I've been hurt by people. I want to get them back. And straddling the line between vengeance and justice and revenge is not easy because it'll consume your heart and turn you into a demon if you let it. I can resonate with that. I don't need to have the same gender as the character to enjoy the story. This is me being rather passionate about a viewpoint that I think is shallow. I think it's shallow. I've never once sat down and played a game and been like, I really identify with Jin's plight because we both are men. No, I identify with his plight because doing the right thing sometimes takes great sacrifice and loss, and it's not easy, and it's challenging. I never said I couldn't play as the bro. No, T-Bird, I wasn't saying you. I didn't say T-Bird. I said there are people who genuinely just don't want to play as a girl. They just don't want to. And I think they need to say, maybe I have main character syndrome. You've not said why you don't want to play as Atsu. You've not said, other than that you wanted to play more with Jin. Pause. But, and again, I don't find that to be compelling because I thought Jin's story ended rather well, and I think I argued, I'm a little biased here, I thought my argument was pretty good, that it would be trivializing to take Jin out of Tsushima into another environment and treat him like a Marvel hero. Just like, yeah, let's just drop him in another location, and he is now the Ghost of Yotei. Or Ghost of Tsushima 2. It would be trivializing. They told an amazing story, and it ends beautifully. Even if you don't play the DLC, it's got a beautiful, it's so Japanese cinema infused that it ends in tragedy. It doesn't end happy. Oh, I love that. It's so non-Western. Like Westerners, we love our happy endings. We love our sitcoms, and we love our neatly tied bowed ends of movies and TV shows and books. And Tsushima ends, and they're like, no. Nope. You don't get it. You do not get a happy ending. You get a sorrowful ending. You get an honest ending. Because that's life. Life is tough, hard, and a lot of people end their life sad. A lot of stories end sad. So to be like, well, let's trivialize it and let's just turn Jin into some like MCU-like superhero. He's the Ghost of Tsushima, and here's a new story. Do you allow self-promo? The platform doesn't allow self-promo, and it's completely counterproductive. And your account is 1 month old, so what in the world would you be promoting? You haven't seen A Walk to Remember? I'm not saying you can't find Western studios, directors, and stories and movies and shows that have set endings. It's just very non-Western. The Western trope of storytelling is the happy ending. You watch a lot of Japanese cinema, you watch a lot of samurai movies, kung fu movies like Hong Kong movies and stuff. They have sad endings. They're tragic. I've watched so many movies with my friend that was so into all that cinema, and good golly, the endings were always sad. And that's how Tsushima ends. Tsushima ends on a very sorrowful, somber note. It's not like, yay, we liberated the island, and like everybody's throwing confetti and singing like a Disney movie. It's like, what a tragedy. You either basically kill your uncle or you don't have an uncle anymore. Whichever way it ends, whichever ending you choose, it doesn't matter. The greatest level of sacrifice that Jin had was his honor and his basically adopted father. And he loses both. To be like, yeah, but I want to play as him more. Why? Why take away from such a beautifully told story, such a good story? We don't need any more with him. It's over. It's over. So I wasn't trying to project that onto you like, well, you don't want to play as a girl because you only can identify with guys. That's generally what people say. That's generally what people say. I can't play as a girl. I can't really identify. I can't really get immersed. What the frick? I don't have anything in common with Jin Sakai, and it's one of my favorite games. I don't have anything in common with Celine in Returnal. And you know what both those games did? They impacted me in a deep, emotional, almost spiritual way. Just really, really impactful games. Do you know there's only a handful of games that have made me cry? And 2 of them, the lead is a woman? Why rob yourself? I don't get it. Why rob yourself of those experiences and those opportunities? In other words, it's not about playing as Jin. They're asking for another good story. Silver Wolf says, I don't think the issue is that people don't want to play as a female. The issue is that we have seen so many characters have been gender swapped, and every time you see it, it's an issue. Give me examples of all these gender swaps, please. I would love to hear the list, because the list doesn't exist. I've said this before, and I've said it many, many times again. A lot of you guys think you've been red-pilled into some pattern deduction and you've been roofied, you've been put to sleep, you haven't been red pilled. There is absolutely not some crazy pattern of a bunch of gender swaps in games. It's not true. I've seen the one picture that floats around every time this comes up. They literally use Rivet in Ratchet and Clank, which means they didn't play that game and they don't understand that game because it's not a gender swap. It's quite literally a multiverse where there's a male and a female character that you play as interchangeably. They also use the two main characters from the spin-off Uncharted game, which was also not a gender swap. It was a spin-off game, and Nathan Drake was not replaced. It was also celebrated by the people that love the Uncharted games. So where is it? Where is this super long list? What do you mean? Gender swap. Like, gender swap is literally if you booted up Ghost of Tsushima 2 and they changed the lead character to Jill Sakai, and you're like, who is this? And like, we decided we wanted to tell a new story about Jin from the perspective of a woman. That would be a gender swap. You guys don't even know the term that you're using. Name a top 15 game that has a female as the main lead and then measure it side by side where it stacks up. People have preferences. You mean like Horizon Zero Dawn as a franchise? What do you mean, name a top 15 game? Like, the Horizon franchise is one of the most successful franchises the PlayStation owns. So there, I'm done. I listed one. Yo, it's a good street, Shadow. Oh, yeah, how about Tomb Raider? Tomb Raider. There's another one. Okay, we're done. Can we move on now? Like, what? Miss Pac-Man outsold Pac-Man. Another one. There we go. Yotei's not a gender swap. Again, people use that term, and they don't even understand the term that they're using. You're using a term that you don't even... That's not even appropriate in the way that you're using it. Two spot from Perfect Image. Ghost kept me humble because I lost my godmother. Yeah, Metroid's another one. Yo, Nova Hands, thank you for 34 months over here on Purple. Getting us to 465. 35 away from the next milestone. Yotei's a different time and place. Yeah, it's a whole new story. It's a whole new story. It would be like saying when you could play when they had the lead for Valhalla was a girl, and they didn't they didn't make you play as her. You could choose, but she was the main lead. She's the canon lead in Valhalla. That would be like saying that's a gender swap. It's not a gender swap. It's a new story about a new character. That's why I said it's main character syndrome from its toes to its scalp. It's main character syndrome. It's like, no, you shouldn't do that. Games should just be, the lead should be a guy. And if the lead's not a guy, I should have the choice to play as a guy. That's main character syndrome. You're just not, you don't want any stories to be told about women then, I guess. That's what that is. Nobody boots up Tsushima and says, can I play as a girl? Nobody boots up God of War and says, can I play as a girl? But apparently we're supposed to say that in Yotei or Tomb Raider, games about women. We're like, well, why can't I play as a guy? What the frick? That doesn't make any sense to me. It's in a logical position. It's main character syndrome. 100%. That's what it is. I don't even think it's misogynistic. I just think I would prefer to play as a guy, so games should do that. And it's like, your preference is not an imperative, as Zubair said a little bit ago. Your preference does not create imperative. Thank you so much, Ahmed. Behemoth coming in with 52 months. The man himself, often true to his name, Behemoth. Thank you so much. I forgot to add the one a little bit ago from Purple. There we go. God of War wouldn't work. You're literally answering my question with your own logic. No, I'm not. You wouldn't do it in Tomb Raider. You wouldn't. They want the female characters to be half naked. He called playing as a woman kinda gay. What? There's also something gay about this. Huh? Nobody's saying you're scared of a woman. I don't think that's it. I have diagnosed it as main character syndrome. Thank you for Behemoth double dipping over here. Behemoth in town, 4 months of members. And maybe Behemoth, maybe he can come over here and help out Purple catch up, brother. They need the help. Thank you so much, Demetrius, for renewing your membership. Some of these people just don't think women are interesting. Also, I got a bachelor's in agriculture. Well, thanks so much for renewing. If you guys renew and it says gifted member, consider upgrading to Member Plus. It's $1 more, but you get into more content. Street Shadow says, oh no, I did. I would rather not make it about T-Bird as a person. I would rather make it about his position. So that's why I said that's projection. We don't need to project onto him fear of women. I'm trying to diagnose the source of it. The source of it seems to be a preference. And that preference seems to come from main character syndrome of like, this is what I want games to do. If they don't do this, they're failing. And it's a criticism. And it's like, and a 10 bomb from Behemoth over here on Purple. I have not had the alerts popping out for Purple. I am sorry about that, guys. That is my bad. That is my bad. T-Bird has established a preference. Okay? The preference is either to continue playing as Jin, or the preference is, I prefer to play as a guy. There is nothing wrong with those preferences. When you elevate those preferences to imperatives as if the game should have done this, or the game, this is a valid criticism. That's what started this entire discussion, is he was elevating his preference to valid criticism. And I'm like, that's not true. Your opinion and your preference is valid. It's what you feel. I would prefer to continue playing as Jin. That's fine. That's valid. I really liked playing as Jin. That's fine. That's valid. They ought to have done this. It's a valid criticism of the game. No, false. That's not a valid criticism. It's just what you want. It's just what you would prefer. You're also joining T-Bird. You have to understand something. You're joining the ranks in a discussion. Most of the people that take your position, these are the things they say. I just don't want to play as a woman. I can't really get immersed. I can't really identify with the character. They say these sorts of things. You have to understand the pool you're standing in. It's not. I can't change that reality that most of the people that take your position, that's what they say. So that's why I said I think it's main character syndrome. You don't ask to play as a girl in Ghost of Tsushima. You don't. You don't ask to play as a girl in Uncharted. Why? It's a narrative-driven game. You're like, well, they wrote a story about Jin. They wrote a story about Nathan Drake. Just like when Tomb Raider, they wrote a story about Lara Croft. So you wouldn't ask to play as a guy. Yotei is a new game, new location about a woman, and being like, well, why can't I play as a guy? It was because it's a narrative-driven game. It's about her. If you're not interested in the story because you were more interested in Jin, that's fine. If you're like, I was more interested in Jin, I'm not really interested in this character, that's fine. That's a preference. You make decisions based off your preferences. Your preferences are fine. Your preferences are not imperatives. This is the mistake that many gamers make. They think that their preferences are imperatives. Put it in a zip so you can save it? What is that, Fuzzy? Is that the animated GIF? I got my first date with my late husband's friends this Saturday. I'm a little bit scared. That's good. You being scared means you're alive, and it means you care. I would say it's a great place to be. You're feeling. It's a blessing to feel, isn't it? You know what I mean? Isn't it cool to feel deeply about things as opposed to like not? Yeah, right? I don't know. Laughter, crying, fear. These are life. This is life's natural drugs. Elation, excitement, worry, sadness. These are nature's real. These are the real drugs, not the stuff that you like puff on to feel dead or sleepy or happy. You know what I mean? Oh, they're specifying. They didn't specify this before. We will not be able to stream Wu Chang until the release date. I've never quite understood those embargoes. I'm going to be honest. This isn't specific to Wu Chang. I think that embargo standard is out of step. I think that's outdated. They have an embargo for reviews, but then they're like, but you can't stream the game. What? I don't understand. Couldn't I literally just raw record the entire dadgum game and upload it as many YouTubers do? They're like, here's the entire game, or here's parts through 1 through 10. They just record their entire playthrough and they upload it. I don't understand why live streams are still restricted until release date. I feel like that's massively out of step. It means they're scared of the reviews. No, Cobra, this is standard. No. It's not a red flag. Homies, this is standard practice. This is 100% standard practice. The embargo is for reviews, and then the live stream, you're not allowed to live stream early access of a game until the release date. This is almost every game I've ever been given early access to. It's spoilers. I could spoil the entire game that any game I've been given early access to. It doesn't make sense. It just feels out of step. I'm not singling out Wu Chang. I'm saying every review embargo I've ever been under has this stipulation, and I don't get it. I had one for Split Fiction. I had the same embargo for Split Fiction. I could publish my review, but I wasn't allowed to stream it. It does. I feel like it's outdated. Yo, I know what Stone Spire's doing. He's setting up the 20 bomb dunker. 3 singles come in from Stone Spire. We're at 480. Anybody can steal it. We got Behemoth and Alex in the building over here on purple. They could drop a 20 bomb. Mash and Pathalon are here on YouTube. Tons of people have done 20 bombs, not just them. Anybody could steal it. Street Chatter with a $10 super chat. I figured I would super chat this. Am I less of a gamer or a man if I decide to play as the female lead of a game when my wife or daughter wants to watch me play that way? Do we just say, nah, no ladies? Here's an interesting thing. To counteract a lot of what T-Bird is saying. My daughter is absolutely enthralled with Yotei and wants to play it. Now, I would argue that's really good for the gaming culture as well as the gaming economy. I do. I think it's good for the gaming economy to have a young girl interested in games. And here's why. And I'm going to use all of the argumentation that these guys typically use. I'm going to use it against them. So buckle the frick up. A lot of these guys commonly cite the fact that like most of the gamers and most of the audience is men. And they would say, well, that's why these games are going to fail. Now, they'll obviously ignore the commercially successful games where the female lead is there, like with Horizon. They'll use photoshopped images of her face, but they'll ignore the commercial success of the franchise because it breaks their entire narrative, because their narrative is bankrupt. But they will say, well, most of the audience is male. Okay. As an invested gamer, a lot of these gamers will also talk about the fact that AAA sucks, gaming is dead, gaming's headed for a bust, the projects are too expensive, AAA's out of touch, the budgets are too big, right? So they posture as if they are worried about the gaming economy. Why would you not then therefore celebrate newer games coming out that then appeal to an audience that doesn't currently exist? You admit that the audience within gaming is rather slanted and it's mostly men, which there's evidence to say that that's not actually true, but let's just say that it is true. you also seem to get from these guys care and concern about the AAA industry. It's headed for a bust. It's overspend. It's so out of touch. It's like, don't you think an entire generation of people like my daughter at 11 seeing games like AC Shadows and Yotei, don't you think that could make the industry stronger? I mean, people seem really concerned about the industry, don't they? I don't know. Seems like an inherent contradiction. To be like, keep only appealing to us. Seems like you don't care about the economy of gaming. Seems like you don't really care about gaming. It seems like you care about something else entirely. I don't know. Just my observation. Just noticing a lot of trends in the conversation that don't seem to have a logical coherence. There's like an intrinsic incoherence. There's a dissonance within the positions. Maybe because it's not rooted in fact. Maybe because it's not rooted in genuine care. It's nice that you let your daughter use the PS5 Pro. Yeah. They play every Saturday. Yeah, lately they've been enjoying they really, really love prop hunt in Fortnite. They have become obsessed with prop hunt. Yeah. This isn't main character syndrome. So T-Bird said, literally not what I said. It's the fact that some don't want to play as a female, and it's valid to not be interested in something that turns off the straight male. It turns off the straight male? Is that what gaming is about? I didn't realize that what gaming was about. I mean, I'm a straight male, and I really, really like playing as females in games. I love Horizon. I love Returnal. I loved the Tomb Raider reboot. I loved the first 2 games. At no point did I feel like this is really turning me off as a straight male. I just don't understand that perspective. Everybody uses gaming differently. Everybody uses gaming differently. And you can use it however you want. But I do feel like some of you are admitting that you use games in a very different way than the rest of us. I'm not condemning that. I'm not judging that. I just think that we're very different. I do. I think we're very different. You're invoking turning off straight male in a game, you know. I guess what I would be curious about, since you said that it's gay, it's kind of gay or somewhat gay to play as women. Again, that seems interesting to me that you're more turned on by playing as a man. That's kind of gay. I'm just kidding. I'm trying to keep some levity here. But bro, that does. We have gay dudes here, and I think they would say that sounds kind of gay, bro. I mean, if you're getting turned on playing as Kratos or Nathan Drake or Jin Sakai, you know, no pause. You might be gay. I don't know. I mean, just try it out. Just see, you know? I've said this many times in this discussion. Just go to a gay bar. You'll have a good time. And you may come home and be like, no, I'm straight. Nothing's changed here. But maybe not. Maybe there's something there. Maybe you really do like playing as big, beefy guys. Maybe there's something to that. I don't know. Yo, Giza coming in with 38 months. Thank you so much. 481. Stone Spire set up the 20 bomb dunker once again. Wait until this guy finds out that Lono wants to cuddle with Jason Momoa. It was sort of adorable when my son was talking about the Minecraft movie. And he's like, Mama, who's that guy that Papa likes? He's got the long hair. was like, Jason Momoa? Like, even my kids know. Even my kids know. If you read my second statement, I swear I'd be one of the Glazers if the exact same game but a dude. You see my comments so far? And what do I get out of lying about that? T-Bird, you said that there was something about this that was kind of gay, and I'm making light of the fact. You also said that it turns off straight males. Playing as a woman turns off straight males? Like, what the frick are you talking about, bro? That would mean that the inverse is true. It would mean that you get turned on playing as a guy, which means controlling and looking at a guy turns you on, which, ironically, considering what you said earlier, that's actually kind of gay. And I'm not using that as a pejorative. I mean literally. That's what a gay man would say. Yeah, I really like looking at dudes. I like seeing a guy. I like looking at a guy's backside. That's literally gay, bro. In a non-pejorative, non-negative way, that's like actually a gay thing. There's nothing wrong with that, but the way you're couching it, I don't understand. Like, it's a turn off. It turns off straight males to play as a girl. Yeah, quick say no homo. One time, you cut your finger while you're making some chicken, and you bled. I took the blood, put it in a baggie, and every night I put it on my forehead and touched it to my lips. No homo. That skit was so good. Hey, I like your hat. No homo. Wait, so you can just say whatever you want, just followed up by no homo? So good. Heck says, I like playing as an attractive female because I'm straight and it's what I'm attracted to. I like playing as a man at his peak physique because it reminds me of what I'm shooting for at the gym. How is a difficult concept to understand? Hex, this guy is not doing any favors to the dudes that are like, I just prefer to play as a guy or a really attractive girl, right? You consume the media and the medium differently than me because I don't give a frick about that stuff. I played Stellar Blade for the combat. Sure you did. I'll open up my game right now. I didn't unlock any of the lingerie. I didn't spend any of my points on any of that crap. I kept her fully clothed the whole time because I didn't care about that. I wasn't there to goon in her backside or her boobs. I thought the combat was dope. It reminded me of Sekiro. It was like an action-focused Sekiro. I loved it. We play games differently, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you play a game and you're sitting there just like, oh my gosh, look at that booty. Like, okay, cool. You're allowed to do that. That's your experience, your preference. That's your mindset. Neither of us should turn those things into imperatives. Neither of those things should turn into imperatives. If I flip this around and got very Puritan about this and said, that's not what gaming is about, and the women should be covered up, and they shouldn't be running around scantily clad, like this false narrative that like journalists hate sexy characters, which isn't true. Many of the journalists celebrate sexy characters, like unless you're Kotaku and you write really weird hit pieces and bad headlines, and we all know what happened to that outlet. Outside of Kotaku, I don't think there's been some like war from journalists against like attractive characters. This is completely made up and fabricated, but like we should not be creating imperatives from our preferences. So like if I got very Puritan and said, well, that's not what gaming is about. It's not about gooning and staring at half-naked women. That stuff shouldn't be in games. You would say, well, that's just your preference. You're arguing your preference. Oh, then that means you can't argue your preference as an imperative either. Let the game be the game. Why can't I play as a guy? That's your preference. It's not an imperative. You come into a narrative-driven game and asking to play as another character doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. You're allowed to have the preferences. You want to see somebody caked up? You want to see somebody scantily clad? That's your preference. Go have a blast. That's not why I play games. And I'm never going to try to create an imperative that takes that from you. So maybe don't create imperatives that take that from others. I want really great games with female leads for my daughter to play. It's something that I think is good. It's something that I think adds shades of color to the gaming world. We've got countless games with a gruff, bearded white guy with a chiseled jaw. Those games are legion. It's almost ironic how many male leads look very similar to each other, right? And people are acting like, but we're being erased, or there's not enough and all of a sudden they care about representation. It only matters when it's about them. But we have so many of those games. This is why So Watch You, Lono, you don't pull the crap either side does. Yeah, I try to be as sensible as I can about this. Like, you can have your preferences, I can have my preferences. Let's not create imperatives, because it leaves space for all types of games. Gooner games, have at it. Games with a female lead, let them come out. Let them be there. Let's make space for both. We don't need Atsu running around with her tatas and her cheeks out. It would be weird. Some of the screenshots I've seen of guys like, this would be a better lead character. Man, shut the frick up. Like, what? Nobody wants every game looking like that. That's ridiculous. Not every game needs to be goonable, and not every game needs to be puritanized. We can have both. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I would prefer my daughter play games that aren't gooner games because of what that communicates to her brain, her self-worth, and her self-image. Sorry, that's my perspective on it. I'm glad there are games like that for her to play, so that when she's 14, and I'm like, check out AC Shadows, check out Yotei, she's got a game to play that's not like, yep, this is what women are. They're decorative. They're here to be gooned at. I'm not judging you. That's what you want to do, go for it. But I'm a dad. I can't turn off dad brain. Not really possible. Sorry. Don't really think it's great or healthy to be like, here, 14-year-old super impressionable young lady, play all these games where the women are basically decorative objects. Oh, and their bodies are shaped in ways that are basically completely unrealistic. That'll be real good for your little brain to download. You know what my kids said when they saw Eve? They walked in the room, they saw me playing as Eve. They literally said, why is her butt so chubby? And they laughed, because to them, it's still funny. Butts are funny. Butts are not a point of, like, potential attraction. Butts are a funny thing. They're a ha-ha thing, like farts. But they literally were like, why is her butt so chubby? And I was like, you wouldn't get it. Now, we got to get to these China Hero games like I promised y'all. We're 2 hours and 20 minutes in. No one's complaining about Wu Chang Fallen Feathers, which I'm pretty sure has a female lead. Have you seen any of the screenshots of what she looks like and how you can dress her? Yeah. There's going to be some gooning going on, my friend. Have you seen some of the enemies that are goonable? Like, I'm here to fight you, and I just happen to wear my best plunging neckline dress all the way to the navel. Let's fight. It's so ridiculous. I don't care, but it's ridiculous. We're here to fight to the death, and I wanted to make sure my boobs were out. My girlfriend loves Stellar Blade and loves it even more when I have her in skimpy outfits. Listen, the world is full of different folks, you know? Madam looks at that kind of stuff and is just like, huh? There are others that are like, oh, that's great. That's awesome. They want the character to look like a Victoria's Secret model. Keep your preferences in the preference bin and just don't turn them into imperatives. That's all you got to do. Oh, you're saying I'm saying the girl boss is criticism from the usual, so XX gets thrown out if she's sexy. Yeah, I guess that is a good question. Why is a girl allowed to do things that are unrealistic and beyond belief just because she's sexy? That's like the hall pass. I guess that's not the right term because hall pass means something else in our common nomenclature. I'm sorry. I can't resist every time because I butcher words too, so it's funny. They get a pass. Hey, this is some girl boss BS, dude. A girl couldn't do that, but if she was hot, nobody cares. Okay. Got it. I understand now. Let's get the likes of 300. We got the likes of 300. Thank you. The couple that goons together stays together. It is interesting, though. Oh, nomenclature is the word. And there was just a funny video recently where Des and Legary said Normanclature, and we just turned it into a gag and a joke. Like, yes, we all know Norman. Mr. Nomenclature. It's just funny. I am not at all being a hypocrite. I butcher words all the time. So I'm like, I've been there, bro. I'm laughing with him, not at him. I misspeak and say words wrong all the time. Nomenclature was just uniquely funny. Lono can smell his own. I totally can. We've all been there. We've all, not all of you, but like you've all misspoken as well. You're sitting there on the mic and you're just doing your thing and you say nomenclature. I've done it too. I completely butchered words, man. I used to say foliage instead of foliage. It's a thing. What was the thing I would do that you guys pointed out with my Destiny videos? Oh, I would say it needs fixed instead of needs to be fixed. I would just remove to be out of the sentence. This needs fixed. And people are like, you mean it needs to be fixed? While we're on the subject, please look up how to say, oh, I thought it was amortized. I swear I got that from a video that was talking about it, so I picked that up from somebody else. I watched a video breakdown of the situation with PlayStation, and they said amortized. So I probably am saying that wrong, yes. I didn't know how to say it because I'd never heard it said. I heard someone say it. Yeah. Lono says ETC instead of etc. I don't know why I've always done ETC instead of etc. Also SOC. No, plenty of people say sock. Shut the frick up, Wired Rope. I'm not giving up on that one. A lot of people say it wrong on my eye twitches. I was watching the one Joker video, and he said antithetical, and he said it so many times. It was like, it's antithetical. I loved it. I like Joker. I was surprised he finally did the face reveal, but like antithetical made me, yeah. Did I tell you guys the story about the guy that I had my preaching class with? He said that there will be times where you'll be humbled after you're done, and it will be because you've mispronounced something. And for an entire sermon, he was saying epitome instead of epitome. And he said a sweet little lady came up to him afterwards and said, I really hate to do this, but it's pronounced epitome. Yeah. He's going to remember that for the rest of his life. Epitome. And he was a smart guy. He was sharp. He was very intelligent, but he also had a country accent, so it made it even funnier. The epitome. The epitome. True SSJ Havoc said, most Eastern-made series have females that do many powerful things, while on the Western side, people view them as trying to put down men. So I think it's more of a Western-Eastern thing. Probably true. I would say that's probably true. That there is different conversations that have maybe led to that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Look at it from purely male perspective. Take Jin Sakai. He may not be a male model, but he is still idealized. If he was ugly, overweight, or awkward looking, it would disrupt immersion to a degree. So I think there is an element of this that has to be accepted when we're crafting these characters. Yes, I will 100% agree with you if they made Atsu look like Chunk from the Goonies. Yes, it would be distracting. There needs to be a certain measure of attractiveness, but she doesn't need to be running around like a half-naked anime character. Like Jin Sakai, he is attractive, but you wouldn't say he's like a supermodel, and they certainly don't ever have him clad or dressed in a way. Like, you could obviously put him in like a robe and get a little bit of like his chest, but that's about it. You know what I mean? Like, I think it just comes down to preferences. Own your preferences and purchase according to your preferences. Just don't turn your preferences into imperatives. That's where I get frustrated, and that's where I'm going to push back. We told you it was real. You can't look away now. Oh, no, I know. So... All right, here's what we're going to do. I need to go through these China Hero games to tell you guys. Like, the subject matter of today's show is PlayStation Secret Weapon. So let me just run through this very, very quickly for you right now. Because I think a lot of these might not be on your radar. Now, I do have a video coming today about PlayStation the next 4 years. And this is one aspect of the video, but most of the video is actually about the cadence of games coming out. I make some predictions about when games are going to land based on things we've heard from insiders. So don't forget, we'll be checking out that video later today. Part of the video is what I believe is PlayStation's secret weapon. And let me give you guys some of these games right now. I think China Hero is going to play a huge role in PlayStation's growth in the coming years. I think it's going to be a pivotal market for them, and some of these games I think are going to play a role. So first, let's just take a look at Convallaria, okay? This is a third-person action shooter game, and it is multiplayer. Now, this could be two birds with one stone, because we do know that PlayStation wants to have successful live service games, and having a successful live service game in the Chinese market could be absolutely enormous for them, because we know there are very, very popular Chinese MMOs on mobile, and this could be one of those games that strikes a chord with that market. It's a Chinese developer, so you're dealing with themes, art styles, gameplay expectations, and elements of the game that may then land very well there. Now, that does not mean necessarily this game is going to be super popular everywhere, like we saw with Black Myth Wukong. You know, the largest percentage of its sales, I think, was like 80 to 90% or something like that, was in China. That does not take away from the game's success. It merely shows a global trend. And this game could certainly do that. Noticing things here that are similar to other games I've seen before. I saw some things that kind of reminded me of Outriders. I've seen some things that remind me of Anthem, honestly. But the focus here on weapons and guns, I think this game has tons of potential. So keep in mind, this is one of the China Hero Project games that a lot of people just, I don't think, are aware of. This is why I'm calling it a secret weapon. A lot of this stuff is very much out of the frame and not being focused on. These games are being developed. The abilities at the bottom is where I kind of get the Outriders feel and vibe. A little bit of the First Descendant as well. So I am seeing some First Descendant influences here. But again, not necessarily going to fall into some of the same tropes that the First Descendant has. Except you can sort of see right here, maybe there is going to be some of that waifu focus if you want to have that kind of a character or those sorts of outfits. So this is Convallaria. We have no ETA or estimation on when it comes out, but I think this is one aspect of the China Hero Project secret weapon that PlayStation has yet to really unveil fully. I think we're going to start to see that this year with Lost Soul Aside. We will also see it with this game here, Daba, Land of Water Scar. Now this game, as we watch this, you're going to pick up on a lot of influences. You're going to notice things that are very Souls-inspired, very Elden Ring inspired. It is described as a beautiful Souls-like action adventure that tells the story of a puppet with a humanoid appearance exploring the ancient city of Gouge during an imminent apocalypse. By doing battle with a range of horrific enemies, he will unravel the story that both ruined the world and himself. So here again is the type of game that we know can be an enormous hit. We saw this with Black Myth Wukong. Now this could really strike a chord with the Souls fans out there and people who love these types of games, people who love Dark Souls, people who love Elden Ring. And again, when you have a game like this, if it's a huge hit in China, you can see that level of commercial success displayed in Black Myth Wukong. Now some of that was because of the story of Black Myth and what it means to Chinese culture and to Chinese citizens. However, this does feel like it's got some things in here that I think will really appeal to fans of the genre, as well as anybody who likes these games where you fight these big, giant, sort of macabre, creepy looking creatures, and it's crazy and it's challenging and it's frenetic, and you have like really cool weapons. It also looks like you don't necessarily have to play as the guy, because they did show a female on the bridge shooting a bow and arrow. So it did look like you could kind of deal in some of that, well, let me dress her up as a, kind of like the French maid kind of lingerie outfit and go out and do battle. That sort of juxtaposition seems possible, and it does look like we've got two characters here. Maybe you can switch between them. I don't know if there's going to be any co-op. It looks like maybe you would just switch between the characters. But that one is called Daba, Land of Waterscar. And again, these are all China Hero Project games, sort of emphasizing my point that this is the secret weapon that PlayStation has that I think will slowly sort of step up out of the water as time goes on. We've got another one here that I want to show you. This one is being built in Unreal, and this one is called Exiledge. This is another one that kind of reminds me of Outriders, but it's almost like Outriders meets Final Fantasy 16. It's described as a high-speed third-person shooting game. Now, we've had this conversation a lot about how PlayStation needs some shooters. Well, I'm showing you another one right now, and it's part of the China Hero Project. This has larger-than-life boss fights that I think are reminiscent to some of the icon fights in Final Fantasy 16, while also having this sort of fast-paced, frenetic, moment-to-moment fights reminiscent of games like Outriders and even the other one that we looked at. But it looks a little bit more in the vein of sort of swarming you with enemies and having lots of enemies in the area. Now, this one I do not believe is multiplayer. I believe this is a single-player game. I'm also seeing influence from like Remnant 2 in some of these environments that you're going into, and like choosing your upgrades in that. And we also have the, just the randomly super beautiful woman who is like, I guess, helping you, which is a game trope that we've seen in a lot of games up to this point. But I want to let this play because you are seeing here abilities to sort of complement the shooting as well that, again, really reminds me of Outriders. And here you're seeing one of the larger-than-life boss fights that remind me of the icon fights in Final Fantasy 16. Like, he's literally so small, and he's like literally just like skating on the tentacles of the boss. Very arena style as well, sort of reminiscent of things that First Descendant has done and other games like it. So maybe not quite that open world, which I enjoy. Here's another larger than life boss fight, huge health bar at the top, got a huge boss in the back there behind all the enemies, and then you're obviously going to go up there and fight. Now, I'm not sure if she's a companion or if they're indicating when she joins the fight there, is it going to be... Apparently, it's a combat system right here on the base of TPS with hack and slash. What would TPS be? Can somebody help me out there? I didn't see that in their description on the website, but that's in the description of the video. I just saw that. What would that be? A different style of fighting or something from another game that I'm not familiar with? Outriders vibe, but single player, odd choice. There could be, third-person shooter. I don't think I've ever seen third-person shooter as TPS. They usually just write third-person shooter. It didn't even register in my brain that, like, TPS was third-person shooter. They usually write it out. So it's a combat system based on third-person shooter with hack and slash. Right here it says, fight along with the mysterious girl Zora and experience colorful battles and epic boss fights. So she will join you. Maybe she's a summonable thing, like you call her in to do things, kind of like you're going to have your abilities and things, I would assume, on a refresh. I could see that as well. I got two more to show for you. This one is called Brocade-Clad Guard. Brocade-Clad Guard. And this is one that could really do very well. It's a Wuxia-themed action RPG. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I actually had to look up Wuxia. It is a genre of Chinese fiction focused on martial arts artists with extraordinary abilities and chivalrous ideals, often set in historical or fantastical China. This is an action RPG that takes place during the Ming Dynasty. So we again could be dealing with a game that Wuxia, it's pronounced Wuxia or Wuxia. It's Chinese combat, right. Well, it seems like it's based in historical or fantastical China, and so they're going for history and fantasy because it's going to be during the Ming Dynasty. So much like Black Myth Wukong, this could strike a very strong chord with the Chinese market and Chinese gamers because of what it would mean to them to be able to do something in that era of time. And you're noticing really, really great, cool-looking gameplay similar to other games that we have played, right? Sneaking around, but it also seems like you may have almost like a brotherhood of assassin-like samurai ninja people that are going to be going into these environments and fighting with you. Also seems like reminiscent of things that we saw in Sekiro. It reminds me of that a little bit with some of the symbols and things popping up and like fast-paced, crazy fights. Rhythm, like almost rhythm-based here. This reminds me of Sekiro. The constant sort of having to parry and block and then being rewarded with huge punishment windows is very reminiscent of Sekiro. So this one, again, I think looks very promising. And again, this is part of the PlayStation secret weapon that I think they have. I think the China Hero Project is going to do very, very good things for them. This could really, really, again, help them grow in a market where they do not currently have much of a presence. This would really dispel the notion that the console market is stagnant and not growing. I think the China market is going to play a pivotal role in that going forward. I got one more for you here, and this one is called Unending Dawn. Now, this one's going to be a little bit more for the people here that were earlier talking about their proclivities for the hot and the sexy, because we do have a game that feels very much like Stellar Blade meets First Berserker. So the anime stylization and the fast, very, very quick-paced action-style challenging combat combined with this sort of, hey, she's a hottie, she's a bit of a waifu, it looks like anime. This could be an enormous hit for all those reasons. We know how this works. We know why people like these games. The combat's great and the character's hot. Okay, this could be a very, very similar style game that hits that chord with people. They also have, I think, a very, very cool art style. Again, to me, it's reminiscent of Stellar Blade meets First Berserker Kazan. I get those vibes from the game. But this is another one that's going to have that really, really fast-paced, crazy, challenging combat that people have been more drawn to since the popularity of Elden Ring. And so we've got a couple of games that I've shown you that are like that. You know, the Brocade-Clad Armor, Unending Dawn, Daba, Lands of Water, but then we also had Convallaria and Exiledge as shooters. So I think a very, very good mix here. I think, you know, and this is not all the China Hero games, by the way. There are more. You can go to the China Hero Project website and you can see everything they've got going on. There's a lot of slowdown that's jarring. The last one looked amazing. These are all games that are part of the China Hero Project, and these are all games that are very much out of the frame. 11-month-old trailer, 11-month-old trailer, a 2-year-old trailer, a 1-year-old trailer, a 2-year-old trailer. These are very much games that have been announced that we really have not seen land yet. So Lost Soul aside, I think is going to be sort of one of their first real shots to see just how much of kind of a draw that they can get with their China Hero Project. Because I think it has a massive amount of potential to help them grow. It's why I call it a secret weapon. It's like it's not really on the forefront. It's not really something that they've talked a whole bunch about. You know, and I think that's fine. I think I think again this kind of comes back to some of the conversation we had earlier about I feel like they're spending their money really, really well. I don't feel like they're just going out and, you know, the acquisition spending that it would have cost them to buy a bunch of these studios. I think their money is better spent in publishing. They have less money than, you know, Xbox, Microsoft, and I think they have been doing a good job with less money. I think the way they spend their money is really effective. And I like that It's bringing more games to the market quantitatively, and also we're getting lots of different genres. A lot of the complaints about PlayStation has been, well, where are the shooters? Why don't you guys make a shooter? Make a shooter, make a shooter, make a shooter, right? I get it. I understand it. I understand why people want, the shooters. I understand why people kind of want, they're gravitated towards them. But I don't know if Where Winds Meet is a China Hero Project game, Zyber. I didn't see it listed on the China Hero website unless I scrolled past it. That game is an exclusive this year, though. It is. That game is an exclusive this year. It is coming, and it is only going to be, I think it's a console exclusive, right? Isn't it also going to be on PC? I believe it's also going to be on PC. I could be wrong. Let me pull that up, though, and we can show people Where Winds Meet. Where Winds Meet is another exclusive this year. In fact, I tell you what we can do. Let's do this. Most of them just look like hack and slash. I don't think they look hack and slash. Here, I'm going to let you guys watch this trailer. I'll be right back. This is Where Winds Meet. Did it start over? Okay, it's at the end. I missed it. How'd it look? Can we rewatch it? I want to watch it. I missed it. No gameplay? Okay, hang on. I'll find this gameplay. I'm pretty sure there's gameplay out there. Yeah, there's 18 minutes of exclusive gameplay from a year ago. reset my sound. I'm going to reset the sound device. I think it's a delay. There we go. Jake says, anybody else getting kind of burned out on these? Let me mute it. I mean, listen. This is Soul's Death Stranding. He's got a baby. So clearly there's big differences. There's a baby. I don't know what else you want, Jake. Put a baby in it. It's the Kojima way. Listen, I tend to agree with you, though. I thought all that looked great, but I also feel like I fought that fight before, right? Like, oh, it's a really, really big enemy who does really, really big swing telegraphs, and I have to block, parry, or dodge them and then do my own, and if I do enough damage, they stop and take a knee, and then I can stab them really good, and then after I stab them really good, they'll be on the ground for a minute, and listen, yes, I think games like that are going to have to really, really work hard to distinguish themselves. Yeah, Wu Chang is described as a Souls-like, yes. I'm pretty sure it's open world gacha Souls-like. Where Winds Meet is a gacha? That was like a guy that you were playing at. How on earth are they going to make it a gacha? Don't you typically have to have like really cool looking characters or female characters for that to work? Open world wuxia role-playing video game developed by Everstone Studios. It's published by NetEase. It's available in China on PC, PlayStation, and mobile. Yeah, I would wait and see on that one, boys. I would wait and see. That one could have stuff in it that is worrisome. Anytime you get NetEase involved and it's also hitting mobile, I would just pump the brakes. It's called Where Winds Meet. I don't see any evidence of like the gacha pulling system where you're pulling for characters and there's pity and, you know, chances of getting like a cool character. Like that's one of the reasons that like I'm critical of the monetization structure of Genshin. Oh, I was saying. What's their secret weapon? I believe PlayStation's secret weapon is the China Hero Project, and I looked at a bunch of games that you guys might not be familiar with. There'll be timestamps later if you want to see them. I also have an upload coming that is called PlayStation the Next 4 Years, and I'm sort of looking at what I believe the cadence of games will be in the next 4 years, what they have to offer, setting expectations for people. Also, I think PlayStation has kind of set expectations as well as sort of set up what we should look for them. And the China Hero Project is part of that video. And so I just want to talk about it today in the live stream. That, you know, I think it's a huge pivotal project for them. Yeah, they have the India Hero Project and the MENA Hero Project as well. Yeah. I think that China Hero Project has greater potential for them in the near future. India, there's only a handful of titles that we've seen. They didn't look like they were going to be like huge, super popular titles. I could be wrong. I highlighted the ones from the China Hero Project that I think have the potential to be very big. MENA, not MENA. Oh, I thought it was pronounced MENA. MENA. The only preference to imperative allowed is 60 FPS. This is correct. The Wu Chang embargo lifts on the 23rd at midnight Eastern. we are going to do our best to have a video or videos for you. Let's see here. Can't wait for your review. This is on my list with Soros and Yotei. Just to give you a heads up, it will probably not be a full roll credits review. I hit 14 hours yesterday. I'm hoping to get... I feel like I just got to a halfway point. I don't know. They said that the clear time for the game is 40 to 50 hours. I feel like I've moved through the game rather quickly, and then I did have a pretty lengthy boss fight, which I think is normal in these games. So I want to get to about the halfway point so that I can give you a very informed video, but I'm not going to posture if it's like a full, robust review. It's going to be more of an opinion piece on trying to help you make a decision about whether or not, you know, you should buy or skip. It's not going to be like this full breakdown of like, here's how this system works, here's how that system works. There's plenty of people that make those kind of videos. I want to make a very, very different video that will still be very beneficial. Yeah. I'm working on the POV right now about like what I feel like I want to say, because I actually have a lot to say. And I've spent a good amount of time in the game already and plan to spend more. Yeah, more of an ongoing review, yes. Which I think is helpful, because I think with a game like that, like imagine if I was doing a review of Sekiro, right? And I was only halfway through. I could still give you a pretty good indicator of whether or not you should buy Sekiro, even if I'm only about halfway through the game, because Sekiro has mechanics, fights, and combat that's going to continue. And when you're halfway through, you could be like, listen, man, you better like parrying and you better like rhythm, because that's what Sekiro is. You know what I mean? Wu Chang is taking too many pages from the Mind's Eye playbook, not showing the console version, not allowing reviews until the day before the game's release. New developer working on a project in UE5. I think everything you said has absolutely nothing to do with what Mind's Eye did. Mind's Eye had no review copies sent. I have had Wu Chang for a while now, so that's not the same at all. There was no embargo the day before Mind's Eye released because they didn't send review copies, so also not equal. New developer working on a project in UE5. Again, I don't think that's comparable to Mind's Eye, because from my perspective, Mind's Eye was built within their Everywhere game that they were trying to set up as sort of like the debut product of the Everywhere game. Also then, not an equivalency at all. I'm not drawing the connections you're drawing, Corey. I'm not even going into details about Wu Chang because I can't. I'm just saying, from the way that Wu Chang is handling their review embargo to the way that Mind's Eye did, they're not even in the same universe. Like, Mind's Eye literally didn't send review copies. Like, at all. T-Bird says, y'all age is showing. I literally can guess over half of y'all are 27 after I'm tired of Souls games. When there's a big trend and it's just fun, what other type of games would they make? I don't know why you're making it about age. That seems incredibly strange. I'm not connecting your logic there. You're deducing that people are 27 because they're tired of the Souls trend? Huh? I don't think people's age has anything to do with that. I think since Elden Ring especially, there has been a significant uptick in games that look like Where Winds Meet and others. And I think it's fine to be like, man, oh man. All I'm saying is I'm getting a 30 FPS on console vibe. Corey, ask yourself a question. Let's imagine somebody sent me a review copy of Black Myth Wukong in its performance mode. Do you think I would have played 14 hours of Wukong and committed to play more? Put your critical thinking cap on. Just put your critical thinking cap on, Corey. I'll give you another example. I was sent review access of Tainted Grail, and the performance was so egregious, I couldn't review it. I played for 2 hours, and I was like, I can't. The screen tearing was horrendous. So, you know, you put your critical thinking cap on. I can't give you any details about the game, but you know me, and you know my proclivities. This doesn't mean there won't be pros and cons, praises and criticisms, right, about the game. You'll have to wait for my video, but yeah. Have they publicly stated if it has it? It looks like there has been some analysis from people that have speculated it'll run better on PC. I'm seeing people saying that, so maybe that's where you're getting your concerns from. I'm not finding any confirmation about a performance mode. Because of NDA, I don't know what you're allowed to say or not say if a game has or doesn't have features. I'm going to err on the side of I'm not allowed to say anything, so I was looking to see if they have publicly confirmed it, and I'm not finding that anywhere. Lono has 2 rules, 60 FPS and caked up women. You guys should know better. What's PlayStation's secret weapon? Inflation and price increases? You mean the thing they haven't done that Xbox and Nintendo have done? Are you saying their secret weapon is not doing those things? Three rules, actually. The last is co-op. That's my secret. Co-op's always part of the rules. That's right. I live in the UK. PS5 got a price increase, as did pretty much every other piece of tech, right? I mean, I don't think that's unique to PlayStation. My day one system costs less than it does today. You said that they didn't increase the prices. You understand that's a regional thing, and that's not them increasing the prices in the same way that like Nintendo charging $80 for Mario Kart, or Xbox saying they're raising their game prices to $80, or raising the prices of their hardware everywhere. You understand that when someone says increase the price, and you're like, well, in this region they did, that has more to do with like fluctuating currency issues, inflation, and global situations, not like them increasing the price. You understand those are not equivalent, right? Do we need to have that conversation? Do you think that's worth our time explaining how there's a vast difference between Xbox saying our hardware price is going up everywhere and our games are going to be $80, and why didn't they increase the price in the US? I don't know, brother. These sorts of things have been happening regionally all over the world for all sorts of companies in and out of tech. That's not they're increasing their prices. That's, yeah, prices are going haywire in all sorts of regions. That's not equivalent to like, oh, we're raising our games to 80. Those are completely different things. Those are completely different things. Why did GPUs cost less in Germany? Because the crap is complex and the world is big. Right. I don't understand the geo-economic or geopolitical realities that have led to all these issues. But when you say, oh, they're raising their prices, you're invoking and inciting an idea that's not accurate. You know, when you say that, what you're signaling. You're signaling something that Xbox has quite literally announced, and Nintendo just did it. William Lewis with a gifted member. Thank you so much. And then Digital Dude renews their membership for a month. Welcome back, Digital Dude. Appreciate it. All right, let's pull up the questions. Let's do some Q&A here. We got our video about the next 4 years at PlayStation, but let's start going through the questions you guys have submitted all throughout the stream. Perfect Images, what are your thoughts overall with PlayStation despite Some of the downfall with live service so far, it's 8.5. Wait, this is an old question. Hang on a second. Yeah, that's an old question. Sorry. Did Sony own Heavy Rain and Detroit? I don't know. I'm going to go down to the next question after that. Travis says, so here's my question. What matters more, developer or publisher? Because to me, if you have a great idea but nobody will publish it, it means nothing. I don't think there's like a coherence to your question, though. Why are you pitting developer against publisher? If you have a great idea, nobody will publish it, that means nothing. I'm not sure what you mean. What matters more, developer or publisher? I mean, I think by and large, the developer matters the most, because if they've got good ideas and good talent and they've got a good product, they will get a publisher. William Lewis with a gifted member. What do you think of Expedition 33? I normally hate turn-based games. Gave it a try because it's on Game Pass. Ended up buying it on all 3 platforms. I love it, and it's my current game of the year. And William, if you want to upgrade to Member Plus, it's $1 more, and then I can count it in the total, and then you'll get into Green Room. You're on the gifted tier. Many people in their late teens, early 20s have big egos and positive outlooks. They haven't yet experienced the real world outside of education. Looks like give them a few years and they'll be crushed. Are you guys still talking about the aging? I don't understand why he said that. I still don't understand why he said that. Perfect Image says, why care so much about if a girl is pretty or ugly? These guys don't have a wife or a girlfriend. The gaming industry is not OnlyFans. Well, I mean, to be fair to the position, I don't disparage the position or denigrate it or look down on it. I think it's an exaggeration. So what I think has happened is, I think it's perfectly fine to be like, I like having attractive characters in games. I think that's fine. I think we've hit a level of exaggeration where it's so overdone, hyperbolic, and so prevalent everywhere. To argue that you don't have enough games like that, I think is absurd. To obsess, to almost have like a derangement syndrome about like every female character's attractiveness. I think it's very, very much overdone and over focused on. I do. I think it's over focused on. I think people have gotten, they've elevated. So when a good thing becomes an ultimate thing, I think it becomes disruptive. So as an example, it's totally good and good for you to enjoy some entertainment, to watch a TV show, movie, or to play a video game. If you make that good thing an ultimate thing and it's all you care about, you basically serve it, it'll disrupt your life. It'll ruin your friendships and relationships. It'll get you fired from your job, right? You take a good thing and you elevate it to an ultimate thing. I think people have taken a good thing, which is, hey, I like characters or people that are attractive. I like to look at attractive people and attractive things. And I believe they've taken that good thing and they've raised it to an ultimate thing, and it consumes their mind and their preferences to an unhealthy degree. I think you see this exampled in many ways. I'm not going to get down into all the minutia of this, but if you look at the type of media that is consumed at a greater degree than probably ever in the history of the human race on the internet, I think people have taken a good thing and elevated it to an ultimate thing, and I think it's caused disruption. I think it's caused distortion, and it makes them view things in an exaggerated, obsessive, distorted way. So that's why I'm not like judgmental about it. I'm not like denigrating. I'm like, I just think people need to consider why they feel so strongly about this. There's an ocean of games coming out every year. There's an ocean of games available right now. If a handful of games have a lead character that just looks more normal and is clothed in a more normal way, why is that such a problem? I don't think they can even answer the question. I think it's just this state of angst and anger that is easily provoked, and it doesn't come from a place of stability and like emotional maturity. It seems to come from a place of, it just doesn't seem rational to me. So If there's a female protagonist in a video game, I would at least like her to be attractive. Most male protagonists don't look ugly. And I believe that viewpoint is fine, but then you're saying that's why I won't play games like Intergalactic. And when you say the lead in Intergalactic is ugly, I say your opinion's dumb. I just think it's dumb. She's not. She's not. The character, the woman in real life is very attractive. They have a character in a scene that's tired and has recently shaved her head for some reason. You find her attractive? Why do you care if I find her attractive or not? You said that she's ugly. I do. I think that's dumb. I think it's dumb. Oh, she's ugly. Can't play the game. I think that's dumb. It's dumb to the point that I don't want to talk about it with you. That's how dumb I think it is. I mean it. I just think it's dumb. Game's not out. You have no idea what the gameplay is going to be like. You have no way of knowing what the game's going to be like, and you're like, I don't like the way she looks not playing. I think that's dumb. People did the same thing with The Last of Us Part 2, and I think it's dumb. And I don't respect it as a position. I don't think it's worthy of respect. I think it's shallow and juvenile. Sorry. I know what I'm saying is not popular. I don't really freaking care. I'm not going to do the grift. I'm not going to do the fake opinion thing. I think it's dumb. I think The Last of Us Part 2 is like one of the best games I've ever played. And people won't play it because of a bunch of crap they heard that isn't true. And I think it's dumb. I didn't say the gameplay looks bad or anything. Yeah, you said that you won't play it, and you basically intimated it was because she's ugly. And my response is, I think that's dumb. Because I think it's shallow analysis leading to a very narrow decision. The analysis is shallow. There's nothing to it at all. It's like, well, this is the company that made the Uncharted games. This is the company that made award-winning games like Last of Us Part 1 and 2. I'm not going to play their game because I don't like what the character looks like. Okay. I just think that's dumb. Never go full family? There it is. There's what? What was said? I didn't see it. I can't find my mouse. Bro, I'm past that point. You find it weird I like playing as dudes. I find all y'all sus for pushing F characters to be leading a game where they should be in the kitchen and looking at it. Yeah, I'm done with you. How could you be taken seriously when you just said they should be in the kitchen? Like, there are people here like Hex who have the preference that he has, and you completely make guys like him look bad because he's like, yeah, I just prefer to play as a hottie, and I don't prefer to play as a girl in some cases. I prefer to play as a big strong dude. And you're like, yeah, well, they should be in the kitchen. Like, what the frick? I don't know how to respond to that. I don't know how to respond to that. Other than to say, I just think it's dumb. At least I'm not that guy. My point, Obster, and the reason I'm saying it's dumb is because I don't have another word for ridiculously shallow analysis, conspiracy theory, just nonsense, and I'm not going to play the game. I don't have another word. It's dumb, it's foolish, it's shallow, it's thoughtless. Like, I watched that video today, and that guy was talking about like the lost art of criticism and like the difference between criticism and critique. And I just feel like we keep getting in these flat tire discussions where people are like, well, I've made up my mind because of this very shallow analysis. I see your point. It does sound ignorant. Well, I have a lot of respect for you taking what I'm saying and maybe even internalizing a little bit. There's just no analysis. And again, I come at it from this perspective. Naughty Dog are very, very masterful at telling stories, right? There's been good analysis done of like Uncharted 4, for example, and like the way that they emote and the way that they do motion capture and the voice acting. It's so well done. Uncharted 4 was like ahead of its time, right? And The Last of Us 1 and 2 are some of the most debated stories in the history of games. I don't think you'll find another story that's so hotly debated. Why do you think that is? Nobody debates those two games the way that they do because they told a lame, boring, bland story. They told captivating stories that got people to buy in to such a degree that 5 years after the second game came out, people still debate the inner workings of the story and the characters. That is a huge feather in their cap as storytellers. So I stack all that up and I say, there's probably really good reason that she looks the way that she does, and it's literally contained within the trailer, but nobody's doing actual media analysis of what are they trying to tell us in this story. There's a picture of her smiling with makeup and hair snuggled up against an attractive dude. And we see her tired, like not really dressed for anything. She's just kind of lounging around, basically. She looks like she's tired and running on low sleep. She's got like dark circles under her eyes, no makeup, and she's recently shaved her head for some reason. That's all attempting to tell you a story, and no one's looking at that. They're just saying, bald, uggo, lesbian, not playing. This is Naughty Dog that we're talking about. People are bringing baggage to the analysis. They're like, well, it's Druckmann and Druckmann and this, and they did this to Joel. And it's like, no. Slow down. Analyze the trailer. Don't bring all that. Don't bring all that pre-baked nonsense. Analyze the trailer. What are they trying to tell you? I keep coming back to, it's not a very masculine posture to get so upset about these things. I'm not projecting onto you that you're upset, but the narrative around Intergalactic was a lot of people who were like really, really upset, really, really angry. And I'm like, that just doesn't come across as very masculine at all. You can't say he's not into muscle mommies. I think in the people getting all weird about Abby, y'all are missing out on an entire spectrum of. I think there's an entire spectrum and shade of femininity that's hot, and I don't that one shade that everybody wants, like the dainty, tiny chin, I don't know, maybe a little too much waifu consumed content, but like y'all are missing out. I don't know, but the point is that the analysis is so shallow. The analysis is so shallow. It's like, I don't see any signs that we're going to get some weird, agenda video. And then everything Druckmann says is combed over with a fine-tooth comb. Like, he can't say anything without it being a controversy. And a 20 bomb comes in from MASH and secures the 502. We are now working on the stretch goal. So Friday night's unlocked. We hit 600. Madam and I will play Donkey Kong with you guys tomorrow night. I'm sorry, Friday night, not tomorrow night. MASH does it again. Secures it. Done on a Wednesday. Man, we needed it. We needed the bounce back. We really, really did. I owe YouTube 5. I'm going to do it right now. John Lepkowski spamming the farty bomb. All right, there's the 5 that I owe. And listen. I know some people are like kind of tired of this conversation. This conversation is not going to go away, and I'm just going to keep saying the same things and keep trying to like really, really, make people think differently. I want people to think, maybe think differently about this and maybe be like, maybe my analysis was presumptive. Maybe my analysis was a little bit too, too early. Maybe it was shallow. Maybe I am missing something. Maybe there could be more to this. I love Tilu too, and I still don't find Abby attractive. No, but finding Abby attractive is a matter of preferences, so I'm not saying you have to or you should. I'm saying I think she's hot. I think that there's a couple of screenshots of her that make her look like obviously very like masculine and scary. But then later in the game, when she's not covered and soaked in rain and angry and fighting, she looks pretty. Just because she's got big muscular arms. I think that can actually be, I think that can be hot. Now that everybody's different, right? Everybody's got their preferences. My mind isn't changed. Oh, if your mind doesn't change, that's fine. To me, it's about, is the analysis shallow or not? I think you can do analysis of Tilu 2 that's critical and fair, but not shallow, right? I think the same thing's going to happen with Intergalactic. I think before Intergalactic comes out, we're going to be dealing with a bunch of utter buffoonery and nonsense. We're going to deal with the grifting channels will make false claims. They'll claim that this leak is true or that they got an email or, whatever it is. They'll make all sorts of bogus claims, right? They'll be fake spoilers, or they'll try to spoil it. A lot of these guys are deranged. They will try to spoil the game before it comes out. Write it down. They're going to. And they're going to do the shallow analysis of, I'll go lesbian girl boss. Would have been so much cooler if it was a dude. And then the rest of us are going to play it and see how it does on the merits of what it set out to do. Not like preemptively judge it based on a character in a trailer. Never be afraid to disagree, especially if with me, says Mash. I'll always listen as long as someone doesn't make it personal. This chick would have been way hotter with a no homo. That's right, Zubair. My guess is it'll be the game of the decade after Tilu 2, Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4 and Tilu 2, Naughty Dog on the PS5 and a new world with infinite budget. Oh, no, yeah, I think it's going to be another game that completely changes the narrative. Because I think they're going to have to ignore how commercially successful it is. They had to ignore how well AC Shadows did. They're going to have to ignore how well Ghost of Yotei does. They ignore how well Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West have done. They ignore all the games that are commercially successful, right? They just ignore them. They're going to do the same thing. I don't care if you call my position stupid or not. Claiming Druckmann has a thing for muscle mommies just because one is in the game is stupid. Oh, he has a thing for muscle mommies? Did you finish Death Stranding 2? I had to put Death Stranding 2 on hold so I could play Wu Chang Fallen Feathers. I got a review copy. I'm like 14 hours into that game. The review embargo drops next week. I'm going to do an in-progress review because it's like a 40 or 50-hour game. I'm going to get as far as I can. Death Stranding 2 is my second favorite game this year. It has not yet unseated Expedition 33. I don't know how far I am in Death Stranding 2. I got to the intermission. Right, Lobo. It's... Again, I keep coming back to it is an exaggerated position. It's exaggerated. It's like, I prefer the characters to be attractive. That's fine. This game's gonna suck. It's woke trash garbage. She's a lesbian girl boss. What the what just happened? That's not analysis. That's preemptive dishonesty. Like, we don't know anything about the character. And in fact, again, if you do analysis of the trailer, it seems like she's straight. It seems like she is attractive when, you know, she's not looking half awake and with a recently shaved head. Like, she looks like she's tired. Like, does anybody look great that early in the morning? You know, like, I just woke up and like, oh gosh, got rings under my eyes. I got to shave my head quick. You know, you think that person's going to walk out and really make your jaw drop? No, probably not, right? But the picture indicates, man, she used to have hair. She used to put on makeup. She was smiling. Smiling does wonders for a person's attractiveness. Oh, and she was cozied up against an attractive guy. Nobody does that analysis. It's just like, well, she's bald, ugly. This game's going to suck. And it's like, wow, that is some deep analysis there. That's very thoughtful. I'm gonna watch all of your YouTube videos. Except I'll probably watch none because I don't think that level of analysis is worthy of listening to. Yeah, I think sometimes you guys need to not do what you don't like the other side doing is, right? Like, don't overgeneralize and be like, these guys are just a bunch of weirdo gooners. There are people that have perfectly stated their position and why they will or will not play games, and it's not always, you know, woke trash. This is woke trash. It's not always that. I think that's the problem, is that if you actually are on the side of like, I'd rather play as a guy or I want the girls to be attractive, you are sadly on a side that is commonly very much saying that and commonly very much misrepresenting games and running with like the two narratives we see, right? Is like they're gender swapping or the women are ugly. We see that all the time, and it's like it just isn't honest, and that's the camp that you're unfortunately in. So I have a video for you guys that we're going to go to right now, and I'm actually going to shut the Twitch stream down. I'm not going to just let it stay up. So there is a link in chat right now. I need you guys to click that link. This video is another one that we worked really, really hard on. This one is about the next 4 years of PlayStation. I think I've got an idea of what their cadence is going to be. I talk about what we've what we've heard. I also talk about the China Hero Project. I also talk about live service and what needs to happen going forward. Click the link in chat. I'll also redirect you guys that are on YouTube. See you over there in the chat.